Greetings, everyone out there, and welcome to Soccer Over There. It is your distinguished, above the board, always truth and honest and wonderful, sleep deprived hosts of the most glorious soccer show this side of the GMT. Nick Leafy, Jason Longshore, John Nelson, and Jarrett Smith. Guys, I'm on about 3.5 hours of sleep, so
you win.
I have no concept of what's going on right now.
You win.
It's like everything I'm seeing is like when the Enterprise hits warp drive, and it's all like that's where I am right now. I mean, we could get anywhere tonight. We could discuss the theoretical laws of physics. We could discuss managing rumors. We could discuss teams of tremendous importance to the international scene, maybe going bankrupt. Who knows? It could go all over the place. Bender could make an appearance. But here's the thing. If you're expecting a linear show tonight, I don't think we have the facilities for that, big man. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Jason, John, what's your thoughts from the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of them. Let's try to set the tone just a little bit of what's coming up. So this week, you got Champions League. You got Europa League. You got Copa Libertadores. You got Copa Sudamericana. You got MLS playoffs.
Yep.
You've got Mexican playoffs. You've got madness everywhere. That's just on the field.
And you have Family UFC happening this weekend, too, for all of those who are going to be venturing out and about. So.
There's that, yes.
Yes.
Always fun. So there's a lot of stuff. Let's hit a couple highlights of things that have happened since SDH this morning. We got some updates out of IFAB and FIFA. So I think that at times this gets a little confusing. There is the International Football Association Board. That is IFAB. Mm-hmm. They are overseeing the laws of the game. So when you see changes made to handball rules, for example, that make no sense, blame IFAB. It's not FIFA. It's not the Premier League. It's not the referees who are writing these laws. It's IFAB. Now, IFAB is talking about what they're going to do in their annual decision-making session, which is always a big deal because that's where you see these changes actually go into effect for the next season. Mm-hmm. That's going to be on March 6th, so there's some time between now and then. Everybody is complaining about quite a few different things. IFAB, this rules panel, it comprises officials from FIFA and the 4 British associations. So that is England, that is Scotland, that is Wales, that is Northern Ireland. That is your rules panel. They will be deciding on 2 major things going forward, and it looks like these are actually going to make it to this decision-making session. Handballs, and acknowledging that, quote, interpretation of handball incidents has not always been consistent. Duh. They're going to talk about this, so that's good. Also, some of the long-term conversations that have been going on about extra substitutions and concussion situations, that's moving forward as well. That could actually get trialed in the FA Cup third round in January. The English FA looks like they're going to go forward with trialing it ahead of this meeting to come in with some actual data. Let's come back to that one because that's a separate conversation. The handball thing. One reason why we're having this discussion in such detail is video assistant referees. You can go back and look at things and see, yes, that touched him on his hand, that touched him on his forearm, that's a handball. No, that touched him on his shoulder, that's not a handball, et cetera, et cetera. UEFA's been irate. UEFA called on FIFA for a better definition of handball after, quote, many unfair decisions which have been met with growing frustration and discomfort. That's one way to put it. IFAB said after today's meetings that referees must have the final decision and noted, quote, not every touch of a player's hand/arm with the ball, unquote, should be punished. That sounds really good. Thank you, IFAB, for having some common sense. Thank you, for actually understanding that the referees should make that decision and not be boxed in by something written down about, well, if it touches his forearm, then it's a handball no matter what. Well, did it mean to? No, it actually deflected off 5 people and then hit his forearm, but it's a penalty. You know? I mean, come on. So that sounds like a step in the right direction. This is a good thing. The concussion thing. Now, they're talking about doing it differently than we've talked about and other things that have been proposed. They're talking about an extra permanent substitute for concussion cases that could see teams make 6 substitutions in that 90 minutes. One of them would only be for concussions. IFAB it sounds like they're going to continue on with the 5 substitutions for now. They've got till March 6th to make a decision. I think you'll have a better sense by March of what the 2021-22 calendar year is going to look like. So they're keeping the 5 subs on the table. I've said with the concussion thing, it should be a temporary one so you can actually take a look at the player and properly assess them. It sounds like they're wanting to just make an additional permanent substitution. I don't know if that really solves the problem, to be honest. Yeah. At least they're talking about it. I will give them that. This is going to be complicated. This is going to be a difficult one because soccer's never had anything like this before. At least it's on the table. I will give them that. I hope they come up with a little bit better solution than just, you can make an additional sub. That's not the issue. The issue is you need to get checked out properly to make a decision. And you can't get checked out properly under the pressure of, are we going to have to sub you or not? Are we going to have to sub you? Okay, we got to sub you now. Okay, no, we're not going to sub you. Get back in. No, you can't make a decision that way. So get that part cleaned up, IFAB. There's time. Hopefully people will be talking to them about this. Hopefully that will get better. The handball rule, I'll take that as a good sign. I think that's good. I think it's a step in the right direction.
No, and I'm right there with you with the substitution issue with concussions. I want to keep an eye on that. I don't think that just adding that 6th one kind of it doesn't really help matters for me. I'm looking more at the player safety issue first and foremost. And handball, thank you for letting it go to the officials and giving the official that's there the ability to add context to the situation, because you're looking at handball calls that could have gone either way with elbows going up in the air. I noticed a couple of those this past weekend where you have elbows going up in the air, it bounces off a forearm as someone is trying to slide to have a defensive action, and this is all part of the natural motion of the body. So just keep it going. That's all I can say. Sounds good so far, except for the idea of that 6th substitution, but it sounds good so far, Nick.
All right. Jarrett.
He ran away.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Mute 2, 3, 4.
I like to keep you disappointed.
That's true. It's accurate.
Okay.
6 subs, man. What do you think? With IFAB moving to possibly 6 subs.
1 for concussion.
1 for the concussion.
It's the right move to do. It's always going to, I think it kind of opens up the question of what happens if you have 2 concussions. Well, we cross that bridge later, but just kind of get the bridge built first. Don't so much worry about, how many when there's not one to begin with. In this instance, we saw this in the Orlando, New York City game when Huon just lost his mind and decided, the only thing I can figure with that dude is he had money on himself getting sent off in that game in the second half.
He was determined.
Yes. Yeah.
That dude must have laid like a couple $100 on some bet in Vegas that he was going to get sent off. He's like, oh, I'm going off on those kind of odds to get sent off. Bet. Let's do it.
I'm in.
Because what he did to Tinnerholm it should have been a red card from the start. He lined him up, then raised the shoulder up into the face. Like, it was inexcusable, and that was disgusting. But with Tinnerholm, it should have been a matter of, hey, here's a concussion sub, because he doesn't need to go back on the field, because I don't think that dude knew any of his childhood memories when they picked him up off the ground.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that's weird about it. Is that one, I agree. I think he was in a bad way, and that's why I think it should be a temporary sub.
Yeah.
Because the way this worked out is they brought him back on the field, and then what is about 10, 12 minutes later, in play time, maybe about 15 or 16 in real time, that the independent doctor said he needed to be substituted out.
Yeah.
One, if there's a problem, he shouldn't have been back on the field at all.
Right.
That is the thesis here.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been back on the field.
Well, we don't think so.
15 minutes later tells me you made the wrong move.
But that's
in the first place.
But that's the thing. I don't know if they did because they didn't properly check him. You've got an independent doctor who is not checking him for that 15-minute time period. He's out on the field, and he sees something that he says, "Well, we need to sub him." And I didn't notice anything. I wasn't watching Tinnerholm the whole time, but I didn't notice anything. And I mean, we're not seeing the All-22. We're not in the venue, so we're not seeing everything that's going on.
Right.
But because of the way that was handled across the board, NYC didn't have a choice in a substitution, which we haven't seen honestly, in that I can think of this season in league play at all. And it's in this game, which. Forget the who-on part of it for right now. Just the Tinnerholm part, you weren't able to properly check him. Then you're observing him from a distance. Then you mandate that a substitution has to be made. Let's clean all that up. Give the temporary sub when this happens. The independent doctor can then say at that time, when the injury happens, the potential injury, he needs to be checked out. You can use a temporary sub right now while we're checking him out. And if you put a time limit on it, That's fine. If it's 15 minutes, okay, fine. The independent doctor allows the temporary sub. Nobody else does. Then you get the time to check the player out. And then it's down to what you have left as subs. Because otherwise, when you create a concussion sub, you're going to have to create a broken leg sub. And you're going to have to create a nasty gash sub. And all the different subs you can possibly have. You got to manage your substitutions. You don't get a bonus one, but give the temporary sub so the player can be fully checked out properly.
And I'll take it one step further and say to keep a manager from saying, okay, we're going to use this opportunity to go 3 forwards up top now. Make it a like for like. So if it's a defender, sub him for a defender, midfield, striker.
I don't hate where you're going, but that's a tough one just because, players can play different spots and then you've got to, you're going to get fancy with how you classify a player's position, and
there will be a manager. I guarantee you, there will be one who's going to say it. In chaos, there's opportunity, and we're going to use this to go from to change things up and run 3 forward.
But
I should have done it at the start of the game.
But I don't have a problem with that because this is why. Because you could do that with players on the field, period. You can move pieces around. Right. This is just giving you a player on the field. It's not like you can say, hey, I need a temporary sub because he's wobbling a little bit. No, the independent doctor has to trigger it.
Right.
So they're the only one who allows it. And then at the end of the temporary sub period, or once the doctor makes their determination, that's where the team has to make the decision. If they don't have any subs left and the player can't continue, then they play shorthanded. If the player can continue, he has to come back in for that player at that time. You take some of the tactical side out of it, but you've got to open the door to protecting the player. You've got to. We can't have another situation like the 2014 World Cup final where you had a player who doesn't even remember playing in it.
Yeah.
You just can't have that.
That's fair. That's fair.
There's going to be people who will take advantage. I know, but I think you can limit how much they can take advantage of.
I mean, guys, we all watch Argentine Super League. You're telling me, someone's going to take advantage of it.
Well, that's with the independent doctor. I think that's the way to manage it.
All right. And I am 100% in favor of a concussion sub, just so that way I don't get hate mail from.
Yeah, no, I know where you're going.
Is in the Twitch pitch. I'm just saying I'm 100% for it. I can just see,
Yeah, you can see the individual injury, the injury sub here.
Burned is right there with y'all.
To what we're seeing.
Burned is saying, there's going to be one concussion change in every South American League game in the 90th minute if this comes.
Yes.
That's why you have to put parameters on it. You have to have independent doctors as the only ones who can trigger it, whether it's the temporary sub like we're talking about for a player to be checked, or you can just say, I think he's got a concussion, I need to make a sub. You're not going to be able to do that. You got to come up with a better way to do it than that.
Well, you're going to have to, in South America, you're going to have to do a background check on all these guys, these independent doctors.
Yeah, absolutely.
This person had way too many social media posts about Rossing in the past 3 years. The game. This guy said he hates Boca. He can't be in the game. I mean, good luck. You're going to have to fly in your doctors from like Paraguay or something.
Yeah,
but
a neutral third country.
A neutral third country, just like the World Cup. You're going to have to fly in there.
You do what you got to do.
Saudi Arabia today.
Today's doctor is from Antigua and Barbuda.
That's fine.
Hey, make it happen.
I'm in. All right, you ready for some corruption down here?
Do we have music for that?
No, we don't have music for corruption down here.
Can we still the Law and Order sound? Is that?
You might need to be careful with that one.
Yeah,
I don't know if I trust them. They might come after us.
It's a parody. I think you can.
That's true. It is a parody, and that's covered by Luther Campbell, Two Live Crew versus the Orbison Estate.
We'll use this instead. I don't know why. All right.
You're shutting it down. You're shutting the computer down on that one.
Shutting the corruption down. I'm surprised you actually need the sound. I'm impressed. All right.
Hey, as slow as my computers are in the office, that's a sound I know when it comes to rebooting something.
I was about to say,
I figured you wouldn't turn them off because they'd never come back on. The Confederation in Africa, the African Soccer Confederation president, Ahmad was banned for 5 years by FIFA on Monday for financial misconduct. Like, how bad does it have to be for FIFA to ban you for financial misconduct? He is from Madagascar. He was running to be reelected for 4 more years as the head of African soccer. He's also a FIFA vice president. The FIFA Ethics Committee found Ahmad had breached his duty of loyalty, offered gifts and other benefits, mismanaged funds, and abused his position as the CAF president, fined $220,000. His first term was clouded with allegations of financial wrongdoing and misconduct at the CAF headquarters in Cairo. He was detained by French authorities in Paris on the eve of the Women's World Cup for questioning about a CAF equipment deal with a company that appeared to have little connection to soccer.
Okay.
He got a sponsorship deal with something that has nothing to do with soccer, and he pocketed the money, and good times. And he was running again. No, not anymore. So good job, FIFA. You got all kinds of problems with your vice presidents. You got the FA president who had to step down for being a numpty, moron, racist idiot, and now you need to replace him. UEFA's got to replace him. The CAF's got to replace somebody. It's madness.
And what do you want to bet they don't see a nickel of that $220,000?
No way. He's gone. He's hiding out on Madagascar somewhere.
Some safe haven island somewhere like the Canary Islands or something like that.
Yeah, he's got somewhere to go. All right, Nick, Italy has a couple of things. Do you want a potential new owner for a Champions League club, or do you want Serie A business with the whole broadcast rights being sold potentially?
Give me new ownership for 500, please.
All right, Andrea.
New ownership for 500.
Andrea Rodrizzani has made no secret of his desire to purchase another club. Owner Leeds, doing pretty well, right? Yeah, it's all good. It's been linked to a bunch of clubs. One of the clubs most recently linked, Atalanta.
Interesting.
Atalanta has been linked.
In an interview that Joe Tacopina, the former owner of Venezia, said that owners in America, or potential owners in America, and now across the world, are looking at Italy and realizing that there is a tremendous opportunity to purchase clubs at pretty ridiculous prices. Because, I mean, if you're Atalanta, as long as you keep Gasparini and somehow navigate this COVID Mad Max era that we're in sports right now, you can qualify for Champions League and make a buttload of money if you're so inclined. And the price point is going to be far lower than anything you're going to get in the Premier League. There's an easier path to Champions League than there is in a couple of other countries. And, it's Italy. I mean, my God, buy a team, buy a vineyard, and you're A-okay.
And he's Italian, so, I mean, he would.
Yeah. Well, that certainly helps grease the wheels. So if he wants to invest, that'd be my one thing. And some of the new owners are starting to see this. You must invest immediately if you come in. You must come in and splash cash immediately. I don't care what Gasparini's plans are. I don't care what he tells you. You must come in. If you want to satisfy that fan base, you must splash cash immediately. And Atalanta's Ultras are some of the most notorious in Serie A, so you better damn well make sure that you're satisfying them as well.
The president of the club is saying that there's no negotiations ongoing, so maybe there's not much to it. But one other thing that's interesting, and I wonder how Red Bull gets around this. I don't think City Football Group has had to deal with this yet. If he does it, let's say he buys Atalanta, and let's say Leeds in a couple of years qualifies for the Champions League, there is a rule against the same person owning two clubs in the same European competition. Yeah. I'm assuming from a corporate entity, there's ways to get around that and nominate people to be in charge here and people to be in charge here, even though we know the real situation. Right. But he's not that, so he'd have to deal with that. I don't think that's going to happen in the short term if he goes down this road. But that seems like a purchase that would make some sense, and it'd be a club that I would expect. The price wouldn't be crazy.
Didn't I see like $150 million or something like that?
No, I haven't seen that.
But I wouldn't be shocked if that was roughly.
Saw $150 million for West Brom was what was being reported, but I haven't seen a price on Atalanta.
Yeah, people will see the purchase price for Roma, and it'll raise eyebrows. Fiorentina raise some eyebrows. You have the tourism trifecta of Rome, Florence, and Venice, that once the economy gets back up and rolling again, and the vaccines, which, by the way, I'm going to be, if there are doctors out there, just know that I'm going to be visiting your office like 6 times in a week. I'm going to be both arms, the neck, the head, wherever I can get the vaccine, I'm going to be taking it because I need to get back to the motherland ASAP.
Give me all of them.
All the vaccines.
But once it all, but once it happens, look, you're going to get a lot of tourist money coming into these towns. And if you go to Rome and you go around you go near the Vatican, there are ticket booths where you can buy Roma tickets, and they're trying to reach out to American audiences more and more. And if the owner of Leeds buys into Atalanta, I guarantee you in Leeds, you will see ticket price packages where you can buy Leeds tickets and Atalanta tickets for a vacation holiday. You're going to be seeing all this stuff. And it needs to happen. Italy needs this. They need more investment. And that's why, as much pushback as you see on any of the dual nationality laws that the conservative wing are trying to push through, they're probably not going to do it because they need the damn investment from people with dual citizenship who aren't afraid to come in and splash some cash. So, Atalanta is something that you could probably still buy low for a Champions League team and get tremendous value out of it. I really want to see what happens with Parma as well. Camiso with Fiorentina, he's going to have to do something because that team, they just lost to Benevento this past weekend, and Cesare Prandelli's return back to the purple. But they need desperately. I think I read somewhere that Italy lost $8 billion in tourist revenue just since like January 1. So we're not talking about peanuts here on the need for economic investment. And not just that, Fiat has essentially started moving all of their production facilities out of Italy and started moving them to places like Poland, where the labor is cheaper. So at this point, Italy's like, if you can invest with anywhere with us, please do so. Like, let's go and let's make this happen. So I want to see what happens. I really, really hope that if whoever buys into Atalanta, they let Gasparini do his job and let this man cook, because what he has done with Atalanta and the level of investment that team's had to do and the amount of turnaround that they've been able to generate with these players that they're producing, I mean, it's absolutely absurd. It's a model you don't want to mess with. It could be Italy's Ajax if they let this man do his job.
Now, you mentioned the investment, a move that we've talked about for a while with Serie A selling a stake in its media business. Looks like that's going to move forward here pretty quick. Agreed upon on Thursday, a $2 billion offer from a private equity consortium. All the 20 clubs back the offer. CVC Capital Partners, Advent International, and state-backed Italian fund FSI are bidding for a 10% stake in this new unit that's going to handle the broadcast rights. We have found an agreement and unanimously voted in favor of the financial terms of the proposal, but we haven't closed the deal yet. We haven't committed yet, according to Paolo Dalpino, the CEO of Serie A, chairman of Serie A. He said, it's like when you go up the stairs, you've got to get to the top, but we've come a long way. Now, there's some stuff with taxes, some stuff with legalities. The clubs have to vote again to get the final green light. All the key terms are set. The funds agree to keep their stake in this for at least 6 years, so they're not coming in and then bouncing. This whole pandemic has cost Serie A €600 million in reduced revenues this year, nearly a quarter of the annual turnover. Combined debt burden of Serie A clubs, €4.3 billion. Club finances are in a bad spot. Wage expenditure has topped the critical threshold of 70% of revenue in recent years. It's definitely going to do it now with revenues down. And when you look at the broadcast side, Serie A's not really where it should be. €2.5 billion is their overall revenue, and $1.35 billion comes from broadcasting rights. I think the Premier League makes closer to 2.5 total from broadcasting, let alone any other revenues. So this could be some short-term money. They're going to sell a piece of future revenues, but they're going to get money up front. And $2 billion when you've got a debt burden of $4.3 billion, it's just there's no way around it. You got to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to let fans back into stadiums until, probably not this season at all. Going up through May, June. I don't foresee them allowing anyone back in those stadiums again. Until there's widespread vaccine usage, I just don't think that that's going to happen. But it's when financial fair play first came in, the Italian owners who were successful essentially viewed the teams as vanity projects. They just poured cash in, Berlusconi, Moratti, and then and of course the Agnellis, and they dumped tons of cash in. And when financial fair play came along, they were like, no, we can't do this anymore. You're going to kill Serie A because we're not economically sustainable. Like, what in God's name are you talking about? Have you seen our stadia? No, we can't, And what you have in Italy is a combination of cities that own the stadiums. So Atlanta Braves fans, you all should be very well acquainted with this, where you have a team that exists in the number 8 market in the United States, which should be a big club. And instead, they have to operate like a small market team because they have to do heavy splitting of any stadium revenue because the city owned the stadium. They owned the parking. They owned everything. Well, in Italy, a vast majority of the cities own the stadiums. And they do not make it easy for teams to break away from that ownership model, which is one of the reasons why Rocco Commisso is showing up into the Florence council meetings with chunks of concrete that he claims almost hit him when he was walking into the stadium. He wants a new stadium built, one that he controls, where he can generate revenue. And the city sees this revenue model and says, well, what's in it for us? This doesn't look like we're going to get a ton of cash out of this deal. So they push back on it. but the data is absurdly strong. Look at Juve. They own their own stadium. They're one of the very few teams in Italy that own their own damn stadium, and they're making significant money from it when people are actually able to show up. So the model in general must shift, and that's one of the issues with Pallotta in Roma. Pallotta thought he had a stadium built. I was getting DMs from people who were telling me, no, Nick, the stadium's almost done. I'm like, guys, they haven't even broken ground on the stadium yet. Like, I have no idea where you're getting your news because they haven't, I'm messaging my friends in Rome. They're like, no, they haven't even built the thing. They're still arguing about it. Like, they can't even get the permits, So the cities are going to have to change the way that they do business. Not easy. Yeah. You're going to see probably more teams like Monza, which Silvio Berlusconi, when he left Milan, went and bought Monza. They're knocking on the door of Serie A. You have one of the head honchos of the New York Stock Exchange, who now owns Venezia. They are going with a slow organic growth. Was it Tannenwald who had that fantastic article about them using analytics and farming U.S.-Italian dual citizens to try to build that team up? Joe Tacopina is making another push to try to buy Catania in Sicily to try to resurrect that club. You're probably going to see more of this where you have cities that say, hey, look, we are willing to just take the stadium. We're not, take this thing off our hands, make this club, something, put us back on the map, and let's find other ways to do business together. The clubs that are in cities that are willing to form that kind of partnership are going to do something. Napoli, De Laurentiis, as we've talked about before, willing to pick up and move from Napoli, willing to leave Napoli. And he owns Bari, so he could do it. And Bari's willing to do business with him. I mean, that's something that, needs to be kept an eye on. But the business model in Italy sucks. By their own rules, their own regulations. They have to change these things up. And that broadcasting rights and the way that they're doing this, it's a very small but meaningful step forward in trying to get this league turned around from a financial standpoint.
Just bouncing,
short story long.
Bouncing around a little bit, some of the financial stuff that's starting to come out. Belgium, the Belgian Pro League said they've lost nearly half of their revenues since the pandemic hit. It's about $325 million. I mean, when you get a level below, Italy took a big hit. Belgium lost half. I mean, that's the lower you go, the bigger the percentage that these organizations, these clubs, these leagues are going to lose. They said given that 80% of the decline is between July and September of 2020, the overall loss for Pro League clubs during the 2021 season is likely to be very heavy. They had initially brought a few fans back in the buildings. That's been pulled back in Belgium. So they've pulled back like most places have. Now, England is starting to push forward in December with fans in the stands. I'm seeing some reporting that the Mexican League playoffs this weekend are starting on, I think, Thursday, and John might have this in his Conca Cinco here in a minute. Chivas and Club America, which is the Super Clásico in Mexico, they might have fans in the building, is what's being reported. So you've got some that are pulling back, and I'm with Nick. I think some leagues will not have fans in the stands until next season, and you've got others who are pushing through. Why? Because of stuff like this. Because you're having such major losses, there are these pushes to get people in the building. Tottenham released their finances. Net loss of $85.45 million in the last financial year. Revenue was £402 million, down from 460. TV and media decreased from 149 to 95 million pounds. A lot of revenues deferred for down the road, or it was deferred into the next financial year. Net debt rose from 534 million pounds to 604. Daniel Levy said the impact of the pandemic on our revenue is material and could not have come at a worse time, having just completed a 1.2 billion pound stadium build, which is financed by club resources and long-term debt. So you get the thing built, and then you can't have people in it, and you're losing money every day on it because you can't pay it off. Spurs face losses in excess of 150 million pounds next year if fans are not allowed back in stadiums. You're at the point where Arsenal, this is linked from the Mirror, talking about potential transfers in January. Arsenal wants to get a player from Red Bull Salzburg, Dominic Szoboszlai. However, they're trying to pay his release clause in 3 installments. What would you think his release clause is? They're trying to break it up into 3 installments.
70 million.
22.5 million pounds.
Jesus.
They're trying to break that into 3 installments.
Yeah.
It's like putting a sweater on a payment plan, like a $30 sweater on a payment plan.
Like
Come on,
like a layaway at Kmart.
Yeah.
Right? Like no.
That's where you are financially right now. I mean, that's just where you are.
Right.
Now, what you are seeing, and I wonder if there will be more stories like this, Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad leads La Liga right now. Real Sociedad, you look at budgets in Spain, Real Madrid's budget to start the season, 468 million euro. Barca's 382 million. Real Sociedad's 100 million. And that's the 8th highest in the league, by the way. So that tells you some of the disparity in Spain. They're leading it. And they've had to, because of just where they are, and this is pre-pandemic, and it's only going to be reinforced, they've had to turn to the kids. And they've had to develop talent and play it. And now you have a situation where, luckily, they'd brought Imanol Alguacil. That's the coach's name. Brought him because he'd been on the youth side. Hired him when other guys like David Moyes and others didn't work out. He knew all the kids who were coming through, and he trusted them. And they beat Cadiz 1-0 on Sunday. They're 3 points clear of the table after 10 games. They're not resting on it. He said, if you want to achieve something big, we have to keep doing this. Being leaders after 10 games is worth nothing. They've got 16 academy graduates in their first team, more than anybody else in the top flight in Spain.
Remember when there was another team that did that?
Yeah.
There was another team in La Liga who prided themselves on, we have this amazing academy, and all of these kids come through.
I remember that.
And
they were pretty good.
Pipeline of talent. That same club that is how far in debt again? I'm trying to remember.
A lot.
I mean,
a lot.
Possibly facing maybe bankruptcy or something. Who knows?
Yeah, Victor Font is still talking. He is the leading candidate in the election. Although if anybody related to Joan Laporta comes into it, that's a previous president of the club, then you've got a real election going on at Barcelona, and things could get really weird. But Font gave an interview, and he said the situation is critical, on the verge of economic bankruptcy. He said elections are the most important in recent years because we gamble a lot. We gamble that Barca will continue to be as we have known them, that they will continue to be members and that they will continue to compete. I mean, that's like catastrophic talk.
And again, just so whoever walked in on this, what team are we talking about again?
Real Sociedad, who is leading the league, and Barcelona is the club that might be going bankrupt.
Yep.
There are, in this world that we live in now, there's no club too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, I mean, Real Madrid, they have been financing a stadium build. They, I'm sure, have cash reserves in place. They're not... are there really dumb transfer rumors circling with them? Not really.
No.
Like, there's no big name linked to Real Madrid right now.
Not January. Mbappe next summer is what they've talked about, but they haven't bought anybody in the last window. They only sold. They only strengthened their financial position. Right.
So they limiting losses, getting payroll off, big time payroll off the books. And meanwhile, Barcelona saddled with heavy contracts. Years of stupid, ignorant transfers coming in, not really panning out, having to move them for pennies on the dollar or stashing them on the bench, not really working out as well. And one Mr. Lionel Messi, who is almost guaranteed to leave you, you're going to have to pay him a $30 million loyalty clause payment, whether he stays or goes. You're going to have to pay him. Like, it's absolutely bonkers that we are in a world now where we can look at each other with straight faces and say, it's time to move Messi for no matter what. Like,
now,
whatever it takes to get him out.
A couple things on Messi. The ground might be shifting a bit. Remember, Guardiola last week, and said it because he probably had to at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Said that he wants Messi to stay at Barcelona. He wants him to finish his career there. He knows what it means, et cetera, et cetera. Now, he said that at a Manchester City media availability. Victor Font, in the same interview, said that he's already told Ferran Soriano, the CEO at Manchester City, to forget about Messi, to look for alternatives to win the Champions League, because Messi will continue with us and win the Champions League with us.
But how much of that has got to be posturing, looking for a fee of some kind as you're getting closer to the end of this window?
There's no, I mean, like, what fee can you even?
You're not there's no posturing to get a fee. I mean, your fee's like $10 million, which is a drop in the bucket to the
yeah. I mean,
Manchester
City had offered 15, I think, at one point.
Allegedly, there's also a lot I don't buy that, to be honest.
I'm with you, John. I'm with you that if there's a way that Barcelona can can remove Messi's contract,
Font won't do it though. That's the problem. Is Font his whole campaign. We're going to bring in Xavi. Messi and Xavi are good. Xavi will take care of it. He can leave Al Sadd at any time he wants to come to Barcelona. Right. Yep. No, we're going to keep him, and we're going to be fine. Now, he's going to have to take less money, which is what Font has said, which is he said about everybody. But, yeah, we're going to keep him because that's what he's running on.
Yeah. If anyone thinks Messi's going to come in and take a heavy pay cut, there's not beachfront property in Arizona to sell you. I mean, I've got a wonderful spot on the moon that sets up. It's on the Sea of Tranquility.
Easy access?
Right there. It's easy access. The old lunar module is parked right behind you. It's fantastic viewing.
I might take you up on that, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I don't know outside of Manchester City, and I don't know their financial situation. Yet. They haven't really said much. I don't think there's anybody else where he could make remotely what he's making now. I don't think PSG is going to do it. I think PSG...
Well, it's a combination, though. It's a combination of things that if you're miserable where you are, money helps, right? If I really don't like my job, but the money's good, I can tolerate it.
Right.
All the pressure, everything is being aimed at me about the failures of my business and the club that I'm associated with. I can only tolerate so much of that crap.
But if Font wins the presidency, he's been very clear in saying that everything will be catered towards Messi. He has said that if Xavi comes in, that Xavi would do the same.
But it's more stupid business from Barcelona.
No, that's a different conversation. I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they might keep Messi because that is how Font thinks he's going to get elected. This is the tricky part of it. He's going to sell it on, we're going to be able to fix it, the relationship will be good, we're going to bring back the greats, we're going to do, because that has worked in the past. That is why Cruyff came back to the club as a manager, was because the president needed to get elected and keep his position. Right. That's why at one point Barcelona was talking about, no, we're going to go sign David Beckham. Knowing that he was already pretty much a done deal to go to Madrid. No, we're going to go get him. Because that was somebody trying to get elected. So now you've got somebody trying to get elected, and they are the favorite, saying that, no, we're going to fix this relationship with our greatest ever player, which needs to be fixed. And if you fix it, okay. You find a dollar amount that he's going to be agreeable to, okay. You bring back his friend Xavi to run the club. You probably are going to have to give Messi more control. Mm-hmm. And if that means he doesn't want to play with Antoine Griezmann, then okay, bye.
Well,
whatever that is. Anyway. Like there's going to be stuff like that will carry on. Is it smart business? It depends on how much you can get him to sign for. That's the question. I mean, Messi doesn't fix everything if he goes. He helps if he goes because you're taking a huge amount off. But if you get to keep him at less money and repair that breach, which could be not quite as catastrophic as going bankrupt, but could be one of those things that just wrecks the credibility of the club for a long, long time, you can fix that and get somebody in who understands the club in Xavi, because that's what's always worked at Barcelona. Barcelona's different. Like, Barca's not Madrid. Barca's not an English club. They're not Munich. They are a club that you got to really understand to run it properly and to be a coach there. Xavi does. I mean, he's got Barcelona in his blood. So if anybody can do the things that we're talking about with Real Sociedad and getting the academy developing players and doing it properly and believing in them, it's going to be somebody who went through that himself in Xavi, and he's got the number one figure to point to next to him in Lionel Messi. And I think Xavi's the one who can have those conversations with Messi about, look, I know you want to play every game, every minute, because I know who you are as a competitor. You can't. You're getting too old. We've got to manage your minutes for the big moments. You're going to have to sit these games out. And that was something that Guardiola struggled with. It's something that every manager there has struggled with. Ronald Koeman, I think, because he doesn't think he's going to be there next year, he's like, screw it, we're going to do the right things. And he's leaving him home for Champions League this week because he has to. Because Messi's dead. He's dead tired.
Right.
You've got to have somebody who can manage him. I think Xavi can. I think if Font can pull that off, maybe he's got a chance to save this thing. But they're going to take a massive hit, and they're going to have to play kids for probably a good year because they're just not going to have the money to go out and get big names. I mean, and it's not like the NBA where you can convince somebody to come in on a veteran minimum to play for a ring. It's not going to happen at Barca right now.
But there's nothing with your plan. There's nothing in it for Messi next year. There's nothing in it for Messi next year other than my homeboy's my manager. There's nothing in it for him.
But
they're 13th in the league right now.
Yeah, but that's
there's
not
a real chance they're not making Champions League.
There's a good chance of that. But that's not fair because, again, it goes back to Barcelona being different. What's in it for Messi is being home and trying to fix it. That's big. That's big. He's not, because he's never done it. This isn't somebody who's done the Cristiano Ronaldo thing and gone to big club here and then another big club here. He's not wired that way. So what's in it for him, like he said when he didn't push getting out of his contract this year, he didn't want to take his boyhood club to court. So it's different, and it doesn't. It's hard to quantify, but I think that plays into it. And if he can be sold on, it's going to take a minute for us to fix this, but we need you to fix it. You can be a savior of this club, along with Xavi and along with whoever else they bring back into the fold. If they get Puyol, if they get whoever else, that's what they're going to have to sell him on. And it might work.
See, I think Guardiola is saying what he's saying because when Messi decides to come out and say, guys, I did everything I could for this club, I'm leaving. That Guardiola knows that if he says something like, well, we would love to have Lionel Messi here.
Because you get that whole public tampering notion of, he's already planting the seeds.
Barcelona will drag Man City to court immediately for the most dumbest, like the sky had a tinge of orange and it was 47% humidity. We're taking Man City to court. And Guardiola wants to avoid that mess. He loves Barcelona just as much as Messi does. He doesn't want that stigma hanging over, the fans massacring Guardiola because he was poaching our guy. If Messi comes out and says, I'm out, I'm done, I'm going up to play for my man's Guardiola just to give it a run. To me, that's far more likely than Messi coming in, being sold a yet another fairy tale, and then being told he's going to be some savior. He's been told he was supposed to be the savior for the Argentine national team. Nope. Was supposed to be the guy who was going to lead Barcelona to greatness, post Guardiola. Nope. He's been surrounded by all of these dudes, and they are dudes. I don't care how many kids are walking around with Griezmann jerseys. And me and my son had this conversation as well. He's like, oh, Griezmann. Yeah. I'm like, Griezmann is a bum at Barcelona. A bum.
Yeah.
Wow.
A bum at Barcelona.
You and Jackie Fresh had this conversation.
Yeah, and because it doesn't matter what you did where you were. It doesn't matter what you think you're going to do. It's what you're doing now. And right now, Messi ain't having a lot of fun after having a very tumultuous summer where he wanted out. He did everything but take Barcelona to court. And now he can sign a pre-contract somewhere else. Barcelona gets nothing. And Barcelona has to pay him the loyalty clause as well. Look, he's going to collect his money. He's going to get out of Dodge. I think this man is done. Savior. He wants trophies. He wants silverware. And Barcelona's not going to give it to him. Barcelona could go in the back and they can invent like Orlando City did, grandma's dinner plate trophy for being the most, whatever. You could do all that stuff. But it's not the same as winning Champions League and being at least competitive in the tournament. They're in 13th place. He's not going to see Champions League this year, barring a miracle. Angels in the outfield,
and they're off.
Well, you mentioned Antoine Griezmann, and he is speaking on Spanish TV this evening. He's doing a show with Jorge Valdano, Argentine legend, Real Madrid legend as well. And he was going to set the record straight.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's what Griezmann said in the teaser video. They were really working this thing up in a big way. He said, I said during my presentation that I wanted to do my talking on the pitch and not off of it. But I think it's time to put things in place. I've been putting up with various things and comments for a long time, and I've said enough is enough. Antoine Griezmann being tough. So
tough.
He said, and I'm pulling these from Diario Olé in Argentina, who I'm sure is on pins and needles with it. Upon arrival, this is Griezmann speaking to Jorge Valdano. Upon arrival, Leo told me he screwed up when I refused to go the first time because he had made public comments, and that at the end I said no. I forgot about that. So he was going to go, and I guess Messi said something about it, then he ended up not going. So maybe Messi was angry about this. Ragamuffin, earlier tonight. The show aired, I think, at like 11 or 11:30 Spanish time. Since Griezmann said, but since I arrived, he told me he would be to death with me, and I notice that every day. So he's saying everything is great with Lionel Messi.
Yeah, okay.
He referred to the statements of his former representative, and it was his former agent who hadn't represented him in like 5 years, where this guy had said that Messi is a regime of terror. He said, he's not my representative, and I have no relationship with him. Okay. He needed to say that. That's good. He said, as no one around me speaks, he thinks like anyone does and can do a lot of damage. He can create doubts in the dressing room and in my relationship with Leo. I told Leo that I have nothing to do with him, and my uncle doesn't know about football. I guess an uncle said something. I haven't talked to him for 3 years. Okay. So he's setting the record straight. I told Leo that I would speak, although I don't like it, to clarify things. I need a little help from everyone, from the fans, from the club. So he's coming out and saying, none of these people speak for me. I got nothing to do with them. They're talking nonsense, and
his play is nonsense too. So he's not exactly with any of that either.
I mean, he's not talking about that. He's just saying that he didn't say these things. That's all.
Good. I'm glad he said he didn't say it. But if he was balling out of control, it would be one thing. He's not. I mean, he's an expendable asset at this point. So
he's just trying to fix the relationship with Leo. He doesn't want Leo to be angry with him. That's all.
Well, then he can leave.
Well, no.
That's the number one way to keep him from being angry.
They got to find somebody to buy him first. He also talked about his hair, which is, I know, very important.
Yeah.
He said, many people want me to cut my hair, but I will not do that because my wife and kids want me to keep it.
Well, maybe if you cut your hair, you could actually see to put the ball in the net.
Right.
Man,
not have Fortnite tournaments and Call of Duty tournaments, right before games. That might also help.
He acknowledged he hasn't been playing well. He says that everything's good with him and Leo. He says that he will hopefully do better in the next months. So he's trying. He wants to try.
Well, yeah, I
let him try.
Well, and if in a year and a half were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Well, John, in a year and a half, he's had 3 coaches, which is absolutely an issue. Like, you can't really argue that.
Did he force his way out? Did he force his way out of Atletico, or did they willingly just drop him on Barcelona's doorstep?
Didn't Barca pay the release clause?
Okay, but he elected to go. Along the way, some representatives told Barcelona, like, yeah, if you paid this, he's going to come. Yeah, no problem.
Well, if you pay it, then yeah, I mean, he's kind of stuck. He'd actually turned it down the year before. That's what Leo, I guess, was initially ticked off about, because Leo was excited about him coming and then looked like a fool for saying something about it because then he didn't come.
Yeah.
But no, having 3 coaches is absolutely. I mean, that's Barcelona being dysfunctional. I mean, it affects everybody. It's one reason why they're in 11th place, why they're closer to the relegation slots than they are to the top of the table.
Yes.
When you keep firing your coaches and you keep moving on from them, you don't have time to adapt, and you have players who struggle. And when you're new into the club and then that happens, yeah, you're going to have struggles. That's fair. That's not an unfair thing to talk about. He said that he doesn't even have his uncle's WhatsApp, so he doesn't even talk to that guy. He doesn't even have his WhatsApp. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Look, everything that's happening at Barcelona is by their own doing.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Outside of
Absolutely.
COVID, they still had financial troubles
Mm-hmm.
that were coming. Like, none of this happened in an instant.
Yep.
This is like a teenager with a credit card.
Yeah.
Who suddenly discovers, what do you mean I have to pay this back with interest? And that interest starts skyrocketing the higher this balance. What do you mean? This is strange to me. Yeah, it's really crazy what happens when you make bum transfer after bum transfer and they don't really pan out. And then when the rainy days come, my grandparents would be laughing at me. God rest their souls. They'd be laughing at me hearing me say this. When the rainy days come, you're not ready. If you keep spending like a drunken sailor, when the rainy days come, you're not ready. And Barcelona's not ready, and they're going to pay the penalty for it. And they have to make not just a haircut. They have to mimic me and just take it all off. Jason, they have to mimic the two of us, take it all off.
Mm-hmm.
And just say, hey, Barcelona fans, understand that for the next season or two, we may look a little different than you're used to, but it's for the good of the club.
We got to get this right.
Yeah, we can't build a club around a guy who's probably going to leave in about 2 years.
Mondays with Reddit.
Speaking of Barcelona and the good old days,
Yes.
Wayne Rooney spoke to, I think he was doing a UTD podcast. So it's a Manchester United podcast. Kind of weird for the presumptive Derby County manager to be doing United podcast. But anyway, he was talking about how in 2010 he was very close to leaving Manchester United. This is what Wayne Rooney said. I remember sitting down for one day and thinking, imagine playing in that Barcelona team. Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. And at that time, Messi wasn't playing the way he plays now. As a number 9, for instance. He was out wide. I was thinking I could have slotted in perfectly. Rooney as a number 9 in that team, if they had got him instead of Zlatan, let's say. Goal.
I mean, better fit than Zlatan, but
you can't even compare in terms of the fit. Because Zlatan, it's got to be all about Zlatan.
Yes.
Rooney's a team player. I mean, he still is, and he was then. And he would have been this is what would have happened. So instead of going to get Zlatan, you'd already decided that Eto'o, you weren't going to keep him. He almost didn't even make it to the first team that Pep had. So you don't have to make the move with Zlatan, Eto'o going to Inter, bringing Zlatan in, then that not working, then moving Zlatan on. You would have went and got Rooney instead. Rooney would have been there for a while. You wouldn't have had to go get David Villa. And then it would have been interesting because Rooney could have played out wide in that system. Rooney could have moved out wide if Messi came into the number 9, or Messi might have been comfortable staying out wide and drifting in if Rooney is your number 9, who's going to make space for you. He's not Zlatan. That would have been fascinating.
It would have been. I shudder to think about the juggernaut that team would have been if you had Wayne Rooney and his work rate in that side. It would have been absolutely just...
Oh, my God. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You get him involved in that press? Good grief.
It'd have been a FIFA dream come true. I mean, it's the team that kids create, for grit. Like, they stack up their FIFA coins to make teams like that. It would have been absolutely insane.
Absolutely nuts. That would be a nice fantasy. It didn't happen, unfortunately. Rooney stayed at Manchester United and did pretty well for himself. It's not like he really struggled that badly. It worked out okay, but man, what it would have been. Because he's one of the few English guys of that era who could have played in a team like that. The one that Xavi, I know Xavi said it, I think Iniesta said it as well. The one that they always looked at and said he could play with us is Paul Scholes.
Yeah, I think that's the guy who could do it.
Yeah, he had the ability to play that kind of style. That's another one that would have been really wild. I don't know where he would have fit. You would have had to play a diamond midfield with Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, and Scholes.
Oh my God!
Play two up top, Messi and whoever.
That's pretty. To me, it's not as exciting as Rooney.
No, it's not as exciting, but it might be like better in some way.
It might be better. Yeah, it might be better. Not quite as dynamic, but very exciting.
Okay, we've been requested. We got a couple things we need to get to. One involves Fleetwood Mac albums, and we'll get to that here in a minute. And they might have some more hits on them than we thought they did. So we'll get into that here in a bit. Gustavo has chimed in. First, he said that Lionel Messi's leaving. There's no chance he's staying at Barcelona. I'm in Fantasyland. I don't really care. I just think that's what Victor Font is selling, and he's going to try to make it happen. And it seems like he's the guy who's going to get elected. So we'll see. Gustavo wants us to talk about Colombia and the madness from them in World Cup qualifying and everything going on. Carlos Queiroz is still the manager in Colombia.
How?
I don't know. They lost 3-0. They lost out at home to Uruguay. They lost 6-1 in Ecuador. The Colombian Federation and James Rodriguez had to come out and issue statements that there was not a fight between players.
Right.
Which usually means there was a fight between players.
Yes. No, there was no fight. Nothing to see here.
There was, of course not. And Carlos Queiroz is still employed at this point, and I don't know how this is going on. Like, what in the world has happened to Colombia?
Well, I mean, the question always comes up: who are you going to get? I have my baby Yoda here, trying to.
Duchess, what's up?
She's trying to tell us what happened to Colombia, and she might have more answers than anybody else.
Charlotte, what happened to Colombia? What happened to Colombia? You know?
She's got that book over her face. That's the reaction.
Right. Is that the reaction when you talk about should Carlos keep his job?
No.
She's right. It sounds like it's complicated, though. According to reports in Colombia, and this is from Periodico, they are saying, and this is translated, I mean, this tells you how this goes. Despite the intention of both parties to terminate the contract, Carlos Queiroz continues as Colombian coach for money. His compensation complicates the matter.
Of course.
So they got to buy him out, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Let me make sure we don't get any Colombian
hey, look,
ads.
when it comes to money, you're going to have to call the National Guard to get me out. If you owe me money, it's either a payout or I have to keep working. I'm going to show up on Monday until there are people who are with a bag of money or a gun, one of the two.
So it sounds like firing him straight out, according to record in Portugal, would amount to $2 million.
Okay.
And although the sum is scandalous, it is not the only one the Colombian Federation faces, as it recently had to pay the fine imposed by the Superintendency of Industry and Commerce for the resale of the ticket office in the 2018 Russia qualifiers. So it sounds like there was some underhanded things going on. So they don't have money to throw around on Carlos Queiroz. $3 million they had to pay for this thing, it sounds like. So, yeah, they can't afford to buy him out.
There's not one player on that team who's willing to they can't take a collection, pass the collection plate in the locker room. Hey, boys, we're getting them out of here.
Can you help us out a little bit?
That's right.
Byrne says maybe it's like Germany, where the whole country, plus the FA, is praying that Yogi Love will resign. No, Queiroz ain't resigning. He's like, the check's still good, right? You still got my bank information, correct?
Like every 2 weeks, that direct deposit still works. I'm good.
That would be the team image when they release the team image of head coach Nick Leafy like this.
Either that or looking at your pay stub on your bank statement on your app.
And for those who are listening on the podcast side, imagine just the Larry David face, like the smug Larry David face. That's what you're getting until you pay me my exit fee.
You've got Carlos Quiroz parody accounts that have started up, and they're resigning, but he's not resigning. I'm like, wait a minute, what? They're like, that looks pretty good. No, that's not him. That's a parody. Gustavo says the players have already released his hand, so he will have to resign. How much money is he going to get to resign? Because I don't think he's going to do it unless he gets something. He's got to get something, right?
Yeah, I mean, why jet if you got money on the table?
If I'm a player
and
who's
what's
on
the
the
trigger?
Edge, if I'm a player who's on the edge of maybe not making the next major tournament, and I find a couple of other players in the same boat, I go to the federation and say, I better be in this next roster. I'm willing to help make sure that you guys have the funds to get rid of this cat. But there's a price to be paid for my loyalty. I might be making that move.
Gustavo's yelling at me. He says, Jason, this is South America. Well, what does that mean? I mean, is somebody going to go threaten Quiroz and say, yeah, you need to sign this?
You're going to leave and you're going to like it and you're not going to get another plug nickel.
I mean, it is South America, I guess.
Yeah.
Look, they did in Italy. The stuff that was being lobbed at Ventura was, I mean, it got pretty bad for him. So if that can happen in Italy, I mean,
if you value A, B, C, or D, then maybe you ought to go.
So there's
time for you to go.
Yeah, there's talk that everything is in process for him to leave.
Sure.
They're finalizing details to get him out. The compensation is not just for him; it's for his staff as well. So good on Carlos for taking care of his people.
Yeah.
According to Darcy Quinn on Caracol Radio, the manager and the federation are balancing the issue of paying that. Quiroz wants it all paid at once, and the federation wants to pay it in installments, which I understand.
Yeah.
It is expected this week that there will be a statement. What Quinn said, though, is that Quiroz has already begun to say goodbye to people and thank people for the support that he received while in Colombia. So maybe there's progress, and it's just down to how you pay him off as opposed to paying him off or can you afford to. Maybe it's just going to be like, how many installments are we going to pay you in?
So from the Soboschlei plan from hour number 1.
Yes, except this is maybe a little trickier for Colombia than it would be for Arsenal.
Yes.
Yogi Love, on the other hand, we'll get to him. He's got homework
go.
to do. He's been asked to draw up an analysis of what happened in the 6-0 loss to Spain. Heaviest defeat since 1931, ended the team's chances of qualifying for the Nations League Final Four. Love said he had no plans to resign after 14 years in charge. Executive committee meeting on December 4th. That will examine the overall development of the team in the last 2 years. We might have some outtakes from what that sounds like.
It's garbage.
That would be correct.
Yeah.
It's crap.
Yes, Mr. Love, we would like your book report by December the 3rd, please.
It's
garbage.
Garbage. Yeah, and that's since they got group stage exit from Russia and this loss to Spain. I mean, it's been bad for a while. This isn't new. Yeah. So Winter Wind sums it up. What happened? They played like trash and got run off the pitch. That's a short book report.
It's a one-pager. It's not a book report. It's a one-pager.
Right. Gustavo, going back to Quiroz, says, if the players don't want it anymore, it's all over. I understand that they are going to condition him to leave Colombia before the fans throw him out. So they're going to find whatever amount of installments they can do for him to leave so he doesn't get hurt is basically where we're at.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good times in Colombia. I'm just shocked he's still there. Peru came out today and said that Ricardo Gareca is not going anywhere. They stand by him. They want to support him more. That's good. They needed to do that. I was possibly hoping that he might be available for no reason at all.
For unrelated purposes.
Totally
maybe.
something completely different, and it doesn't really matter. It's all good.
That's right.
He's going to stay at Peru where he needs to because he's the best manager they could have right now. They'll be okay. I mean, they might not qualify because Peru just might not be good enough to qualify, but they'll be okay, and Gareca's the right guy to try to get them there. Now, that brings us to some rumors, or Fleetwood Mac albums, out of South America about one Gabriel Heinze. Mm-hmm. This started at 7:15 this morning in an article at Doble Amarilla. Now, Doble Amarilla is an outlet that has broken some news. They're a little bit more of an aggregator. They're not really a news-breaking outlet as much, but they were the first ones to post this, and it got spread out from that article a bunch. The possibility of Gabriel Heinze to Atlanta. Now, there's other articles that use that same information, but they include the possibility of Fernando Gago joining him as an assistant. Gago and Heinze played together with the Argentine national team. They played together at Roma. They played together at Real Madrid. I mean, if you don't know Gabriel Heinze as a player, he played at some big clubs. Dude is absolute legit in his CV as a player. So is Fernando Gago, by the way.
And you'll know him from absolutely slapping the pig blank out of a camera at the World Cup.
2010. It was awesome. Camera hit him, and he got it pretty good. The reason Gago's being linked here, a couple things. Sebastian Sejas, who was part of Gabriel Heinze's group at Vélez as an assistant, he wants to be a head coach on his own. So he's going out on his own to get his own gig. Gago just retired a couple of weeks ago. Incredible player who just had awful luck with injuries. Vélez liked him so much they wanted to keep him there even if he wasn't going to play, but just to be part of the squad through the end of the calendar year. But he retired. Another reason why this came up is last night on his Instagram, Gago posted a picture of him with Gabriel Heinze, and the caption, it's translated. It doesn't necessarily completely translate perfectly. It said, "Life found us again. It only remains to thank." That sounds like they're talking about things. So that's very interesting. Heinze, if you haven't followed him since he went out on his own to become a manager, he hasn't been a manager for all that long. Started in 2015 with Godoy Cruz, and he didn't have all of his paperwork. He couldn't be on the bench at times. He only won 2 of 10 games. It didn't last very long. It was weird all the way around. Then he left there September of 2015. He took over at Argentinos Juniors in the offseason going into the 16-17 season. Now, you guys might know Argentinos as the club that Maradona started at. You know them in the first division now. They were in the second division at that time. And this is when the Superliga had 30 teams in it. They were in the second division. Heinze, in his 1 year at Argentinos, won the title. He won the second division. They went 25 wins, 6 losses, 13 draws. They scored 61 goals in 44 games. Yeah, the Argentine second division is maybe crazier than the championship in England. He got them promoted, and then he left. And he said that there were issues with the board, and Argentinos was going through, I think, some leadership changes at the board and ownership, so it was all kinds of weird. He got them promoted and split, so that's a little weird. Now, he took over after leaving there. He was out of a job for the first half of the 17-18 season, then took over at Vélez. Vélez is a club that has had success. They're not Boca River level. They're not one of the Grandes. They're right below that. He did pretty well in the second half of the year. In that season with Vélez, they went 7-2-6 to end the season. 22 goals, 19 against. Got knocked out of the Copa Argentina in the first round. The next year was his first full year with Vélez. They finished 6th, 11-7-7, scored 34 goals in 25 games, qualified for the Copa Sudamericana. They got past the first round of the Copa de la Superliga, then they lost on penalties to Boca in the quarters. It was 0-0 on aggregate. Last season in Argentina, and they did complete the season right before the pandemic hit, finished 3rd place. 11-6-6. They played a couple less games because of the way Argentina was trying to get back down to a manageable number of teams in the league. Now they've decided to scrap that, and let's have 57 if we can, whatever. He also got through the first round of the Copa Sudamericana to move them on. Won 3 of his final 4 games. That got them into 3rd, went 4-2-2 in his final 8. 27 goals in 23 matches in the league. They only conceded 14 last season. 14 in 23 games. That's ridiculously good defensively. He announced 3 days before the final match of the season. So, final match of the regular season for Vélez. I believe Vélez played their last game on March 9th. So it was the Monday. That's right, it was, because I remember actually watching that on Fanatis in Mexico. So they played on the Monday, the 9th. Right before the pandemic hit. Argentina played the next weekend, Copa de la Superliga games. He had already left by that point. He announced Friday before the Monday game he was stepping down. Didn't really get into it in his announcement. He had some issues with the leadership at Vélez as well. When he left, they were in position to get into the Copa Libertadores. It depended on what they were going to do in the Copa de la Superliga. Now that's turned over to the competition they're playing now. They do still have a chance to qualify for the Libertadores. Right now, they're in the Sudamericana this year, and right now they're the lead team in the Sudamericana next year as well. But that could move into a Libertadores spot, and he would have a hand in that. Manager that is very highly thought of. He's said to be a Bielsa guy, although he pushes back on that. He does have a lot of the pressing, counter-pressing elements that Bielsa has in it. It's not exactly the way that the Gegenpressing and the German pressing is. It's Bielsa's spin on it. It's maybe at times a little more like Matias Almeida with his man-to-man, like press the man, go man-to-man, go 1v1 when you press, which leads to a lot of chaos at times. But he's also, his teams are very patient when they have the ball. Again, kind of like Almeida. I mean, you look at Almeida's teams with San Jose, they'd have 60% of the possession. But we think of them as pressing and chaotic and all this stuff. He's a little bit in between those. And Almeida's another guy who's been linked as a Bielsa guy. Heinze doesn't have a ton of success because he doesn't have a ton of experience. I mean, he's got, in total, 2.5 seasons at the first division level, 1 season at the second division level. He's got a second division trophy. He doesn't have a trophy at Vélez, which is not a team that wins a ton of trophies. So, I mean, that's not a knock on him. 6th and 3rd are good seasons at Vélez. Good seasons. He's a manager that everybody likes their tactics. Everybody likes his tactics a lot. And I think everybody looks at him as a legend, maybe is a little big, but as a player, you know, because he played it at Real Madrid, he played at Roma, he played at Manchester United. I mean, he played at the biggest clubs. He played in World Cups with Argentina. You know him from that. He's had success. His teams are interesting to watch. They're very, very interesting to watch. They haven't scored as many goals as you might think. And that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, is that down to the talent at Vélez? It very well could be. You know, is it down to players not finishing the chances that were created? It very well could be. It's up-tempo. It's interesting. A lot of Vélez fans are very sad he's not there right now. They're saying the team is boring compared to what it was with Gabriel Heinze. We'll see. But it has been picked up, and I don't know because of the way it was presented. So the Doble Amaria piece came out, and now it's been picked up by a journalist in Brazil who has more followers and is maybe a little more respected in terms of breaking news. It doesn't break any more ground in the tweet. Jose Novales just tweeted out, and this is translated from Portuguese, Heinze received a proposal to head MLS's Atlanta United. He liked the first contact and was willing to talk. An emissary from the American club would have already gone to Argentina to deepen the demonstration of the football project of the Club of Georgia. That's pretty much what the Doble Amarilla piece said, too. So I don't know if he is just saying what was said or if that's separate news gathering. That's the part we don't really know. None of the...
Sounds like somebody's just hollering.
Well, but he's somebody who's got 30,000 followers. I mean, he's respected. Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of a step up, but not really. And it's not to say this couldn't happen. Like, that's what's so weird about this. Because I was waiting all day. Like, first off, I didn't even see this morning. Yeah. It wasn't really making the rounds early on. That's why we didn't talk about it on the show this morning. Then, I've been following all day. Like, is Teise going to talk about it? Is Cesar Luis Merlo going to talk about it? You know, is Vero Bernatti going to talk about it? Are the heavyweights in Argentina, are they going to start talking about it? And it hasn't really come up. So I don't know if that's because there's nothing there or if that's because you're trying to get confirmation. So that's why I've been skeptical. Not skeptical. That's not even the right word. Waiting and seeing, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going. Go ahead, Jared. Sorry.
All the reports. Hi, everyone again. All the reports literally just thanks. All the reports literally just make it sound like Atlanta hollered at Heinze, which is just doing due diligence. I don't blame them for it. No, it's not. It's not a shot at any of the journalists or any of the people reporting it. It's just like listening to the translations and reading the translations. Like, oh, Atlanta just reached out and went, "What's up? Here's what we got. What do you think?" And it's like watching birds of paradise mate. It's the first initiation, and then it's up to Heinze or any manager, for that matter, to say whether or not they're interested for round two.
Now, the last thing
we'll entertain you.
The last thing from me before you guys chime in, couple more elements about Heinze to keep in mind as you're kind of getting to know him as a manager a little bit. Because, look, I don't think there's a lot of Argentine Superliga, Argentine Liga Profesional de Football, hardcore viewers in our listener base who have studied Vélez and watched them play and know exactly how he plays and know what he's all about. Bielsa, and he played for Bielsa. So, Bielsa, he went to Newell's and finished his career under Tata Martino, who's another Bielsa guy. So there's deep connections there. Bielsa, when Heinze retired, when Bielsa was at Marseille, invited him to come join his staff. And Heinze turned it down at that time. He had just retired. It took Cesar Luis Menotti, who is another Argentine legend, World Cup winner of the 78 World Cup. He said, this is after Heinze retired. This gives you an idea of the mentality in Argentina. This is, again, translated. "Pardon me, Senor Heinze, but you're a chicken. You can't just retire and live an easy life. You have an obligation to give something back to football, and in particular to that of Argentina." And Heinze was like, well, I guess you're right. So he went down the coaching road. Yeah, he got called out, and he said, well, okay. Now, let's go back to he steps down from Vélez. So their season was ending. They were going into a cup. They were in a good spot. He had stepped down for 2.5 years. That's not crazy. 2.5 years, that's generally what we're talking about as a life cycle, anywhere between 2 and 4. He stepped down. Now, he stepped down in March. He was linked with the job at Marseille, where he had played. That went to Andres Villas-Boas instead. He was linked to Palmeiras, and that one came up somewhat recently, and they couldn't come to an agreement. I don't know if he walked away from it or if Palmeiras didn't offer him enough money, exactly how that went down. But when he left Vélez, and this was right at the beginning of the pandemic, when you go back and read the pieces then, it was he's going to Europe. He is one of the next young Argentine managers. He played in Europe. He's got a fast ticket to go and work in Europe. That's where he's going. And it was, where's he going to go? We're excited to see this happen. Well, then the pandemic hit, and everything changed. Has it changed enough for him to, at that time, I mean, look, he's got to be ambitious. At that time, it was, I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to talk to Marseille, where I played. He played everywhere, so he's got all kinds of connections. Would he now be interested in coming to Atlanta? It's a different kind of hire than Tata Martino and Frank de Boer were. It's a completely different kind of hire. This is a guy with 3.5 years of experience.
Yeah.
Good experience. It's not bad experience at all, but it's a different hire. It's not Tata, who won league titles and had been in a World Cup. It's not Frank de Boer, who had been an assistant in a World Cup, won 4 league titles. Same kind of playing career that Frank had. Maybe not quite. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. Heinze was maybe a little more physical. Frank was a little more technical. But as a manager, it's a very different situation. So it's unique, and it's really interesting, and we'll see what happens. But this is the first concrete name that has come up with any kind of credible reporting out of South America. So, Nick, we've talked about it today. What's kind of your take at this point?
Well, first of all, I hope I'm not buffering too much here.
You're good. You sound good.
Okay, as long as I sound good. All right. I have some concerns, and I understand that there is a significant amount of the fan base and Atlanta United media folks who want this move to happen. I get it. I really do. The guy's 42 years old. He's 2 years older than me. And, my concern is this fan base in Atlanta has been screaming, we want someone who is going to be a winner, someone who brings excitement and brings energy back to Atlanta United. And I just don't – I feel like this is a bit of a project if you bring him in. It's certainly a gamble if you bring him in. Yes, we can say, hey, look, this guy is destined for Europe. He had a fast track to Europe, great manager. The ties to Bielsa and Tata naturally, fit right here with Atlanta. Tata Martino himself had said, if I was a younger man, I would have never left Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And maybe that has played a role with Gabriel, and maybe that I think you tend to listen to people who you respect, especially as you get older in your field. The people who have a bit of knowledge and a bit of wisdom about them. Maybe he heard that and said, okay, maybe I can go there and do something. But it feels like a project. Yes, Frank de Boer had the stain of Inter and Crystal Palace. But the man did win 4 Eredivisie titles. I mean, it happened. You can say it was boring and they played a boring style. He still won them. And I don't care if he won them with someone else's players. He won 4 flipping titles consecutively, right? I mean,
only manager to ever do that in Holland.
And the rest of Holland could be down, but it was the rest of Holland down for 4 years, and he just managed to look, whatever. Well, my concern is this, and I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. There is a tendency for people outside of MLS to come in here and think it's going to be an easy ride. That they come in, that American players, they're starting to get a little bit of notoriety, but generally it's a sort of a backwards league. Tactically, you're gonna just boat race all these other. They come here and it's a harder road than they anticipated. And so I want to see what happens if it's him when he comes in here and he hits his first speed bump. When he has to go against a Philadelphia, when he has to go against a Portland and find out, these guys can coach. He has plenty of people who he could speak to about it, who have experience with this league. I hope it works out, but Atlanta United fans, how are you feeling about the lack of sustained success from him? Are you simply buying the potential? Because this could be something like, we're kicking names around in our pre-show chat, and I threw out the name Tom Herman, the guy who was supposed to be the next super hot coaching prospect, gets a big gig in Texas and flames out. I mean, is that the path, or is it somebody like Kingsbury, who was at Texas Tech of all places, and then is now the coach of the Arizona Cardinals and doing pretty damn well in the process? So
the way Atlanta's gone has not been either one of those kind of hires. That's what's interesting, and that's why I've brought this up when names have been bandied around. They have not gone for the hot young coach either from a big place or a small place.
Right.
They've went with a name who has had success.
Right.
The two managers they've hired have won multiple league titles. Not in the second division, and that's not a knock. I mean, that's a big deal, and everybody in Argentina loved that Argentinos Juniors team. You go back and you read some things about them, and they were well respected, and it was bringing something back that was exciting, and that's great. And at Vélez, he was very good. But it's different. It doesn't mean they won't do it. It doesn't mean it can't work. It's a different kind of hire than the two you have on record. If you're talking about managers like what you've hired in the past, you're talking about Javier Aguirre. You're talking about if Miguel Herrera was available, and he ain't. He's not available. He's not going anywhere. You're talking about somebody established, not somebody 3.5 years in. It's a big difference.
And for me, before I send it to Jarrett, I mean, I'm going to put his time at Godoy Cruz aside.
Yeah, leave that to the side. That's
I'm going to put that to the side. June of 2016, he goes to Argentinos Juniors. 13 months later, he goes. It's like, okay, we've got top-level promotion. He goes. Then, December of 2017, Vélez Sarsfield, through the 2019-20 season with 2 Copa Sudamericana qualifications, then he goes. Is Atlanta United looking for someone who wants to stay a while? That, to me, is another aspect of this, because you've got 13 months at Argentinos Juniors and then 2 years at Vélez, 2.5-ish, something in there.
2.5 years.
So, yeah. So, I mean, one of my first questions would be, are you looking to use this, as we see players now using MLS as a stepping stone to Europe, or do you want to stay a while? And
the one thing I'd say about that, coming from Argentina, is and Tata talked about it during his time down there. I believe Bielsa's mentioned it. Pretty much everybody has mentioned it. 2.5 years in Argentina at Vélez might feel like 5 or 6 in other places. Right. So yeah, I'll give him that. He might have just been like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm out. Y'all are crazy. I'm gone.
Right. So yeah. So then my larger question is, would the front office want to bring someone in who wants to use this as a stepping stone, only be here a couple of years and go to that next stop, or do they want someone who wants to be a part of a build and be here for X number of years beyond 2.5 or 3? That would be my first thought.
Jarrett, your thoughts? And then we got a few in the Twitch pitch.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, I brought this up earlier. It kind of reminds me of a younger version of Almeida, and a less experienced version of Almeida. And I know that we had the whole thing last night where Almeida's comments just kind of set a lot of people ablaze. But you've got a young manager who has taken kind of some underdog teams and doesn't really stay any place too long. I mean, let's be honest, like, aside from
back to you in a second, Jarrett. The Seattle Sounders have had a player test positive for COVID-19. The match tomorrow is not in jeopardy, which Miami's was not, so Seattle's is not. They announced today that a member of the club's first-team roster has a confirmed case of COVID-19. All other Sounders players and members of the club's technical and support staffs, multiple negative tests, no symptoms. Player immediately self-isolated on the initial positive, placed into the necessary medical protocol. They remain in isolation. All that has been consistent. Medical staff determined that the risk to the overall team has been managed. It has also been conclusively determined that this latest positive test is unrelated to the club's November 13th announcement. I don't remember what that was. Since that time, Sounders FC has implemented the appropriate contact tracing procedures, adopted a daily testing regimen, while also altering training sessions under the direct supervision of team medical personnel. And then it gets into some of the description. They have been testing personnel daily since November 13th. So they've been on like an enhanced testing section. Don't know who it is. Have not seen anything about that, but Seattle has a first-team player that is confirmed positive for COVID and won't be part of the match tomorrow. Sorry, Jarrett. Go ahead.
No, that's good news to break. That sucks for Seattle. They've, already kind of had things kind of get sideways on them and LAFC in terms of players. But a lot of it kind of like feels like a younger version of Almeida, a guy who wants to play attacking. Like, he spends a couple of years at smaller clubs, especially smaller financial clubs. I mean, let's be honest. Aside from like Gustavo, who among us, and maybe I guess you, Jason, like if you were paying attention to the league, who among us knew who Velar Sarsfield was before Yamil Assad's existence in Atlanta United sphere? I mean, as far as Atlanta fans go, like it's not a club that is gonna. It's not Boca. It's not River. It's not a club that's going to draw a ton of attention. So it kind of feels like that kind of move, or that kind of coach, of young coach who's just kind of taking these jobs and kind of seeing what fits. And I don't read anything into the whole he left Velar Sarsfield thing, because I mean, this is Argentina. We've had everyone from Tata on down leave Argentina and leave clubs down there for reasons having to do with the boards. Like, don't ever read into, he only spent 2 years there and he left of his own accord. Yeah, everybody at some point leaves Argentine clubs of their own accord because they, get into a rock fight with the board over something, whether it's being paid or whether it's Tata with the national team. I mean, I don't read into that at all. They surely have more lures sitting out in the water. But it's one that, certainly people were excited about. I'd be very curious to see how he would do coming into Atlanta, in the same sense that I would be really curious if you hand the keys of Atlanta to a guy like Matias Almeida. Just because these guys aren't traditionally taking on huge clubs with huge budgets.
It's different.
And it's a different animal to go from like, hey, here's a small club. He took Velar Sarsfield to Sudamericana twice, I believe, which awesome. Yeah. But it's a different animal to be at a club where if you don't win at least one trophy a year, things get sideways in the fan base real quickly, and it gets real loud real quick.
Yeah, I mean, there were 2 trophies in 2019, and that was seen as a
2019.
That was seen as a failure.
We were also one game away from a return trip to MLS Cup final.
You were a Golazo from Nick De Leon away from returning to MLS Cup.
So a couple comparisons here. Vela's
run that man out of town too.
Seriously. Vela's 10 league titles in Argentina. They have 1 Libertadores. They won the Intercontinental Cup, the predecessor to the Club World Cup at that time. They've won 1 Super Copa in South America between the secondary trophy winner and the Libertadores winner, the Sudamericana winner. So they've got 13 trophies in their club's history. Their last trophy came in the 2013 Argentine season. So this is a club that's had success. They are, when you look at their roster in comparison to Atlanta United, and you look at values on Transfermarkt, Vela's $58.05 million, Atlanta $53.46. Atlanta's dropped after selling Pity Martinez, obviously, for what they sold him for. That kind of changed it. So when you look at Velez and their roster and where that's tied up in, they have one very, very exciting young talent, Thiago Almada, 19 years old, great player. He's valued at $19.8 million. It was higher before the pandemic. He will likely head straight to Europe for a big payday. After that, you have 7.5, a couple 4 million guys, a bunch of 2 million guys. So it's a little bit of a difference. He's done really well with young players at Velez. Now, Gustavo chimes in on a couple of things. And Gustavo, if you guys do not know, he is in Buenos Aires. He is an Independiente fan, so he hates Sebastian Becasese. And Becasese's name comes up here in just a second. Because Becasese was at Independiente for a little bit of time, didn't do well, went across the street after he got fired at Independiente to Racing, literally across the street. You can throw something out of the upper deck at Independiente Stadium and hit the Racing Stadium. He went over there and he beat Independiente in the Clásico, and it was madness. Gustavo says about Heinze, he is appropriate for Brazil, but he doesn't see it at Atlanta United. Says he's a nice guy, but he's also a very difficult person to get along with. Doesn't convince Gustavo. Gustavo also chimed in and said Atlanta United needs a coach who has more calm personality and authority to deal with the current roster. For the same reason he doesn't like Becasese. Becasese's younger than Heinze. Becasese didn't have the playing career. He started as an assistant with Jorge Sampaoli really, really young. Becasese doesn't have quite as much experience as Heinze either. The record is actually really similar between Becasese and Heinze in terms of win percentage and goals and things like that. Becasese got Defensa, which is a much smaller club, to second in the table. And then it's been a little all over the place. And he's reportedly in trouble at Racing. You got to also factor that in when you hear about Gabriel Heinze, because Heinze's name has come up as the replacement if Becasese doesn't take care of business in the Copa Libertadores, which the quarterfinals start this week. So that is also on the table in Argentina, and that was there before this link. So Becasese could be in trouble at Racing. He might get fired and replaced by Heinze. So keep all that in mind.
And then put that man on a plane to Atlanta immediately.
He's essentially the same kind of thing here, except he doesn't have the playing career, so he's not talked about in the same way. And he hasn't been at as big of a clubs. I mean, he was at Defensa, which is a much smaller club. He took him to second. You could say that's more impressive.
To me, it is.
But very similar style. Another Bielsa kind of guy. Becasese's relationship is filtered through his long-time work with Sampaoli, who is probably the most pragmatic of the Bielsa guys. I think it might be the fair way to say it. Him and Tata, to be honest, are probably the most pragmatic that deviate from the wild abandon of a Bielsa team. But Gustavo's point's important, and I think when you factor in what was said about the Frank de Boer time in Atlanta, he said, Atlanta United needs a coach who has more calm personality and authority to deal with the current roster, for the same reason that Gustavo doesn't like Becasese in this role. He's too young to be able to master a star-studded dressing room, and he's talking about Becasese. He still thinks he's the star of the club at Racing, while the players are the real stars. It's different. It's tough, and that was something that Frank de Boer, who's not as young, and has had same type of playing experience further back than Heinze did, far different amount of playing experience than Becasese. He struggled to get the respect of the roster. And whether that's down to Frank's personality, charisma, relationship building, communication skills, I don't know. It never happened, it sounds like. You've got somebody who is, in Heinze, who is known to be a little prickly at times. Mm-hmm. And is that going to go over? This is a guy that when he was taking over at Vélez, it was going into the summer break. Now, the summer break in Argentina is in December, and they take usually about 6 weeks off of the season. And he was taking over and going to do a training camp, which is typical, and to try to get the team on the right foot, because the last guy got fired, so he had work to do. They were going to go to training camp, and he didn't want players to be on their cell phones. He didn't want players to be playing PlayStations. Kind of a taskmaster kind of guy. I don't know how that eventually went. I don't know if that changed over time. Don't know. He was, again, he had one real season of managerial experience going into that. That was it, the time at Argentinos. So I would think he's probably learned how to deal with players better, but that was an issue here in the last year. So that's something that does factor into the decision making. It's rumors at this point. Just rumors.
It's rumors, but I think it's also something that at this time of the year, you're really starting to narrow down, I think, the direction you want to go in.
Yeah.
And because if you're trying to talk to someone, and the word on the street has been that Atlanta United wanted this done by the end of the year. Okay, fantastic. But there's only a couple different directions you can go. You're talking about having someone who's either jumping at the bit to sign the contract here, or it's somebody you sort of have, recruiting, and you have to put people on a plane, and you have to, in the middle of a pandemic, and there's more resources that have to be dedicated to making the face-to-face contact happen. If Gabriel Heinze is somebody who is going to be in this conversation, it signals to me a radical shift in thinking with the Atlanta United front office. That, like you said, it's not Rafa Benitez. It's not it's not one of these guys who is a name out there for trying to get somebody for the sake of being a name. It does feel like more of a project to me. That, hey, look, this is a place you can come. When we start having full crowds again, you're going to be managing in front of, anywhere between 45 to 75,000 people, and a large fan base that loves this club dearly. But we're expecting you to win, and this is not something where we're going to have any time or room for meandering. So, I do believe that somebody like him could come in and be successful. I want to be very clear with this. But I do want the fan base to have very realistic expectations of a young manager. 42 is very young for a manager to come in here and start winning right away. There will be a learning curve here. There will be roster turnover. Prepare yourselves accordingly. I'm not saying it's going to be doom and gloom and it's going to be Orlando of 2 years ago, but I am saying that there may be some bumps in the road here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it works out. But the press conferences would certainly be more a bit more exciting if when Mr. Gabriel Hansen was behind the microphone.
Could be.
I would like to point out you can get that with Dome Torrent too.
Also true,
Right.
and he is available. Look, the names are starting to pile up of who's available and who could be available. Turco Mohamed at Monterrey could be gone at any day now. They were bounced out of the playoffs. He won a title at Monterrey. They finished 8th in the league that year out of, I think, 18 or 19. But they went on a run. They won the title. So he's got a trophy. He's got other trophies in his career. He's got experience in Spain as well. He might be available, too, in the next week. So, this could get really, really interesting. Now, Byrne follows up on a point and takes it down a slightly different road, because we've talked about what the past two coaches have been in Tata Martino and Frank de Boer, people who had won a good bit of trophies. Byrne says that's the skill, talking about this potential hire, says that's the skill of a very good front office. Find the great young coach who is, let's say, the assistant of a Nagelsmann, who has the skill and personality to become a great first division coach, like Materazzo at Stuttgart, or a manager in a smaller league who can make the jump to a bigger league, like your Hasenhüttls, Hutter, Glasner, all from Austria to the Bundesliga. That's not what Atlanta United's ever done. Now, we're talking 4 years, so it's not like you can't change directions here. But that's not what they've done. What they've done is to go get somebody who can step in, as Gustavo was saying, to a star-studded kind of team. This is a different team than it was in 2017 when Tata came in. Mm-hmm. Joseph Martinez is now a star. Mm-hmm. Some people will absolutely disagree. Ezequiel Barco, if you don't want to call him a star, fine. He's a big personality in this team. Marcelino Moreno, you're lucky because he's a big player in this team, but I don't think he's a big personality in this team. I think he's an easygoing kind of guy. Joseph is a star. You've got other guys that are, now look, there has been some turnover, and maybe some of those other big personalities are not there anymore. Franco Escobar is a big personality. Eric Remedi, I think, is a pretty big personality in the group. I think Miles Robinson is becoming more of a personality in the group. Brooks Lennon is finding his way in as a personality here. Brad Gazan and Jeff Lorinowitz have been your captains, veterans. You got to get their respect. Like, it's not the same locker room that Tata Martino walked into or that Frank DeBoer walked into. Is that going to be best suited to somebody young, up and coming, who maybe can speak to them, a little removed, but not as far removed as Tata was when he came in? Or does it need that veteran who has been around the block a few times and can smack guys down if they need to be smacked down and has the record to be able to do that? I don't know. I don't know what the best fit is.
Yeah.
And two things before Jared Johnson. Excuse me 1 second. Keep in mind that Gabriel Heinze holds German and Italian passports, so he has the ability to get into Europe to interview for jobs should he need to. He can get into Italy tomorrow, and he's not held to any sort of travel embargo. They are allowing their citizens to enter the country. So there will be competition for him. If it may not be the worst time to try to lock this down if that's the move you want to make, because he has the ability to get into Europe without any sort of challenges. Just throwing that out there.
Jared?
No, Jared, go ahead.
No, I'm no matter what they do here, I'll be excited either way, because it does feel like a tonal shift if you're going down this road. And look, I mean, you're coming into, what do we know, a fifth year of a club that has 3 trophies, that has, as you said, I mean, that has one of the most electric superstars on this continent, that has a record now of not only having kind of sharpened up the superstar. I won't say you unearthed Joseph Martinez. Joseph Martinez showed flashes in the past, but you sharpened him the hell up, and he has flourished. Hashtag build the statue. But you've also got a situation where you're a place that brings guys in, they flourish, and they go on to bigger and better things. Do we start going down that road with the manager now? Because it's awesome to think like, hey, we might bring in a young manager who's in his 40s, who's going to play this, exciting, flashy, style. Don't know how pragmatic he would be. We'll figure that out. But man, as much fun as it is to think about kids, like the younger managers doing that, you kind of think they might follow the same path as the players do. You might think, hey, we're going to bring somebody in here. You bring in Heinze and he wins MLS Cup in 2 years, 3 years. You got to think, Europe's going to start calling.
Oh yeah,
he does a good showing in CONCACAF Champions League. Yep. Europe's going to come calling, and if that's where he wants to go, and then you start, instead of spending your last 2 managers of, hey, we got these managers who are known quantities and are kind of, I don't want to say rehabbing their image, because I think that's a disservice, especially to Tata, because I don't think his image needed to be rehabbed. Maybe more DeBoer in terms of how people, perceived him. But instead of going down that road of we're taking a guy who has the reputation already, now you're in a situation we're going to take a young guy. We're going to prove he can be the guy, especially as to Gustavo's point, you hand him that locker room. If he can control that locker room, what does that show clubs in Europe? They have a lot more money, a lot more ego in those locker rooms, and a lot more potential for clash if you can show them we got a guy in our early 40s who can manage, and can not only manage games and manage the moment, but can manage the locker room and manage personalities. It's a huge ask.
And Jarrett, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I'm interested to see what road Atlanta United goes down. Do they continue to bring in the quote-unquote established manager who has the history from either the European theater or wherever, or do they go this younger route and then try to and understand where that younger manager was coming from and have him as a part of the build going forward with this shift that could happen, once again, just depending on what track you go down here when it comes to who you want to bring in and what road you want to go down, what the talent you have on hand, and the vision that individual brings to the table coming forward for 2021.
J-Dub Parker on the Twitch pitch says, not that it should factor into the front office's decision, but I'm afraid how this potential hire would play to the larger fan base. I think the lack of experience, lack of managing at the top level, lack of hardware, and not a big name could be viewed as a bit lackluster. Also, I don't agree with this viewpoint, but just saying. But that's the thing, and that's what's so hard about this is, I mean, is it lackluster? He doesn't have a first division trophy, but you look at his player resume, and wow, that does count for something. That does matter, I think. Did the larger fan base get excited about Tata Martino? I don't think they really knew at that point. It's tough because Atlanta has an interesting fan base. I don't think Seattle has this fan base, for example. And Seattle has a big fan base. Atlanta's fan base is a mix of longtime fans, international fans, and very new soccer fans. You've got all of that. I don't think there's another fan base that has the percentage of newer soccer fans like Atlanta does. It's tough. I don't know if you're trying to play to the base or not. After a year like this one, typically clubs will try to play to the base. I don't know what the base wants, to be honest. I haven't heard the fans start anything about it. I've seen influencers, whether it's media or podcasts or blogs or whatever, start down roads with different people. I haven't seen just like a fan-driven movement for anybody. And I don't know if we'll ever see that. Not anytime soon here. So, I don't know, J-Dub. It's interesting. I mean, you can sell it easily. To me, it's easy to sell. It is World Cup veteran. It is, he's played at the biggest clubs in the world. There's just not many people who have the type of CV that Heinze does. So, you can sell it on that. Big personality, you can sell it on that. You can sell it on the hype about his style of football. I mean, you can pull quotes from all the leading people in South America about how exciting his teams are, how good he's going to be, all these different things. You can definitely sell it. I think you can make it work for the fan base. But does that factor in? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Gustavo says, in general, it's easy to manage a group of players who have almost no trophies won. But when a coach wants to condition players who have won more trophies than him, the issue becomes unmanageable. Sure. D. Graham asked about Milito getting fired. And I always mix the two Militos up. It is the not managerial Milito. It was the sporting director Milito who left Racing. So he has not managed. So that doesn't factor in here. Burned with a good question, and we talked about it earlier in the Brazilian managerial carousel. Wouldn't Eduardo Caldet have been the biggest get for Atlanta United from South America? Some people would tell you that it would. I don't know if South Americans would tell you that. Actually, no. Maybe they would tell you that more. That's what's weird about this, is you've got people pushing for Heinze, but I don't know how much they really know about Heinze as a manager. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're pushing for him because of his playing career. Maybe it's just because it's the one to hype. I don't know the reasoning there. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, would Caldet have been any different? It's kind of similar. He goes to Spain, though, and we see how he does over there. He's got MLS experience as a player, and he played in the NASL as well. So, I mean, he gets American soccer more than some of these other guys would. He would have been fascinating, but now he's in La Liga, so that's a whole different conversation.
Well, I think Gabriel Heinze can walk into the Atlanta United locker room and command respect from the Argentine players right out of the gate. I don't think that's necessarily... Out of the gate, yes.
Because of his playing
that's
career.
A different thing
than...
Yeah, that's the critical thing is, maintaining it. It's not always easy to be a world-class player and become a manager. And that's something that Frank de Boer dealt with at Crystal Palace when you started hearing about stories from the training ground where Frank was wrecking first-team players, years retired, and as a manager, still wrecking first-team players. And that that's something that Frank had to learn, is that I have to, I can't do the same stuff I was, during practice that I was doing before. I was having fun. And then instead now, these guys are all angry because I'm showing them up. That there are little challenges that former world-class players have to address with themselves when they become managers. They have to divorce themselves from the old playing days. They can live on the image.
Tough.
Right.
That can be tough.
Right. We see with John Elway with the Broncos. How many quarterbacks have they gone through?
Yeah.
Because he keeps looking for him, and he's not going to find it. You have to divorce yourself, the player, from, older you as a manager. Because as we just discussed and agreed on, easy to walk in and get that respect right out of the gate. Maintaining it is a different animal entirely. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. And you know what, Bern, you're right. To go and find that next person, that next, the hot assistant who can come in and blow the roof off of things, and who can take a small team and turn them into something big. That's vision. And if you can pull it off and showcase that you are a club with vision and you can spot talent and identify it, not just on the field, but also within the managerial ranks, there's something to be said about that.
Byrne, not a fan of Turco Mohammed, said that he used a gay slur in an interview after the Club World Cup. Did not see that, and I'm not questioning you that it happened, Byrne. I did not see that. That would be something that would make it very difficult for him to get hired here. I agree.
Yep.
I'm not all that high on him personally. Style of play, I don't think is the greatest fit. Right. But he's another name who could be available who has trophies. And as Winter Wind says, when you talk about this, there are some in the fan base who just want to get back to winning, period. But that's the part that there's not an answer for directly, because you can't guarantee that. You can hire somebody who is coming off of 10 league titles. You can hire somebody who's never won a trophy in their life. Both of them can win.
Yeah, I got to push back on the, and I'm not disagreeing with you on the part that there's a segment of the fan base wants to win. When Frank got us within one game of the MLS Cup final, there were still people on social media who were just savaging that man.
No, there were.
Oh, it's boring. Oh, it's dull. It's not the same. I would rather lose and have it be more exciting.
I didn't see that.
I saw Jeez. That plenty.
Jeez.
If we lose a few more games and it's more exciting, I'm okay with that. Like, there comes a point. There is and it took me a long time to learn this. It's not binary. It's not all black and white. It's not that you're either Johan Cruyff or Jose Mourinho. There is gray in between. And sometimes you have to be pragmatic and a bit more defensive if you can't implement all of your entire system, or you don't have the players that are capable of running what you want to run. So you have to be, or there's injuries or schedule compression. You have to change the way you do things a bit. Let's just be very careful with what we ask for. When we ask for somebody else who's coming in just wide open, okay, great. And then you can be the Red Bulls, where you win supporter shield after supporter shield and you get bupkis in the playoffs because you're too gassed to do anything. There is a trade-off. And you're talking to someone who loves Ralph Rangnick, who loves the Red Bulls press, who thinks anytime we have a conversation that involves Rangnick, there's like a 42-character DM that just says press.
This is Nick whenever pressing comes up.
But I understand that you can't do that all the time. You can't do it all the time. You have to find your gray. And I just think that let's get someone in here who is going to get buy-in from the players. That to me is more important than anything else right now. Buy-in from the players. And room, and then we can start dealing with everything else. Get me someone who's going to get the buy-in, and then we can deal with everything else. Defensive, attacking, possession player.
We got an update on Almeida. He spoke with ESPN in Argentina, and
Jared, prepare yourself.
he told Sebastian Vignolo at ESPN in Argentina that he plans to stay with San Jose.
Okay.
But that he hopes that the Earthquakes owner will spend more.
Yeah.
This is the quote. Relax. There's a quote. Jeez. There is a difference between those who invest and our team, which is last or penultimate when it comes to investing. We have practically invested almost nothing.
You knew what you were into. Jared, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I defer.
Go look at that roster. Go look at the moves. And tell me it's wrong. And more importantly, go look at it and tell me what's really different from where he's been in the past. It's maybe a bit more. San Jose is a bit more on the downside in terms, like lower on that totem pole in spending in terms of the league, like in terms of percentage within the league compared to other places.
Yeah, compared to Chivas, yes.
Yes, yeah. But the dude loves taking his underdogs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
I would.
Yeah, you're right,
buddy. I got an opening for you. If you want a club if you want to come to a club and say, "Hey, I need this kind of player for this system," cool. What's the budget? What's a budget?
Well, San Jose could be saying that in the opposite direction too.
Yeah,
this is accurate.
Yeah, we don't have a budget. We just don't spend.
What's a budget? Yes.
We don't. Yeah, I fell out of this love affair, like of him coming to Atlanta, but man,
but now that you've got the quote, you pulled him back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, a lot of it, honestly, some of it is a genuinely like a morbid curiosity of what happens if Matias Almeida actually has a budget to play with.
He would have a lot of the same things that we've talked about with Gabriel Heinze, because I honestly think there's a good bit of similarities between the two. He would have to convince a team that has won to play like they haven't.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the difference, because it's not just we want you to play like underdogs where, we're going to have young guys coming in, we want to do that. No, it's you're going to be asking them to run like they haven't run before. You're going to be asking them to never give up on anything. You're going to be asking a lot. And some players don't really want to go down that road. We'll see.
Then they can kick rocks.
That's not that easy, though. It's never that easy.
On the surface, I agree with you, Nick, but man, it's so much easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
Although, like I said, I absolutely do want to agree with you. Like, man, because if you're a professional, I need you to be a professional about this, and that doesn't just mean doing this for a living. That means acting like a professional. But man, sometimes that stuff's just so much easier said than done.
Look, I get it. I understand.
Oh, I know you do.
But at the same time,
it firsthand, man.
Right, but at the same time, it's something where you have. I've said this statement before. There is, the gravity of success can be very strong, and it can be hard to break away from, because you get stuck doing the same things over and over again because that's what's brought you success in the past. Problem with that is that people will adapt, people will figure you out, and you must update, you must change, and you must inject new blood. If you don't, you're done for. You're dead in the water. I love Catenaccio, but I'm probably one of the few people on earth who does. But Catenaccio had to be updated to Gioco all'Italiana, and they figured that out. And then they ran roughshod over that. And then we watched perhaps the greatest team ever assembled in Barcelona and the Spanish national team say, there's one ball on the field, we're going to possess it until the cows come home. And then people started pressing the living hell out of them, playing very physical in the process, and that was figured out. And you have to update, you have to change. And if you were one of these players who comes and goes, well, coach, I don't really feel like running today. Well, you know what you could do? You can run yourself to your agent. You can try to navigate your way somewhere else because you're not going to do it here. You get out of here.
You're going to tell Lionel Messi that?
Yes.
Then you're not going to have a job.
I did fantastic, but I would be smarter
basically
about
what
my
Todd
decision making.
You'd be like Kiros when you're waiting for the check.
Yeah, I would be more selective about my job and not going to work with an organization that's building itself around a guy in his flipping late 30s. Well, who are we going to build around? This guy, maybe one of the greatest players ever. Okay, cool. What's the plan for the next 5 years? Okay, I don't think this is the right fit for me. Ralph Rangnick has not taken another job. He almost had the Milan gig lined up. He's still out there. He's probably looking for a place that he can come in and say, hey, look, if these dudes don't run, we're booting them. Okay, cool. I think we can work something out. Or no, we're not. Okay, cool. Thank you. Wish you the best in your future endeavors.
But here's the thing. You got to be somebody who can command that kind of control.
Yeah.
Not everybody can.
That's very true. That's very true.
You got to have something to stand on to be able to command that and get that effort or buy-in or whatever. Some people, it is charisma. It is straight up. They can sell you on anything, and they can pull it off. Paul Heyman in ECW, for example, he got those guys doing crazy things because he gave the greatest rah-rah speeches of all time. Mm-hmm. For some, it's what they did in this business as a player, and that's going to command their respect. Zinedine Zidane, not tactical. I mean, he's not doing anything crazy at Real Madrid. He's not asking the players to do anything crazy, but they play like maniacs for him. Diego Maradona at Gimnasia, they play like maniacs for the guy. Mm-hmm. So, or you got to be able to sell them on, this is what we're going to do when we work every day, and this is going to make us better. You got to have something to get that buy-in to be able to throw that weight around.
But who's the person out there right now who can get that buy-in out of the gate? Like right now, who's unemployed? Because right now, because you're dealing with people globally who are still in mid-season in a lot of places, and so it's not like you're going to go get any of the big names out there who could walk in and put an iron fist on this team and say, "All right, we're getting to work, boys. Get in or get out." So who's out there now who can walk in and be like, we're going to win.
There should be
we're going to win.
People who command that. It shouldn't be that hard in this league, and it's not to knock MLS. You've heard me many times fight people about that. But if you come in with experience winning in Argentina, that should command respect in MLS. It should. If you come in winning trophies in Brazil, if you come in winning trophies in Portugal, in Austria, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, that should command respect. Now, other things have to go along with it to also command respect and to continue to command respect. I'm actually trying to answer the question that you had about who is out there, because I saw a really good list. A very highly recommended follow from me. He covers MLS and CONCACAF really, really well. He's based out of Spain. Jaime Ojeda. Jaime, Jaimeor 96. And back on November 11th, he said this, and he said, "This is your opportunity, MLS," about people who are available. Heinze, Gabriel Milito, who was available, who was the manager who brought Ezequiel Barco up from the lower academy levels at Independiente to the first team. Michel, Dome Tarrant, Quique Setien, Quique Sanchez-Flores, Juan Carlos Osorio. He does mention Jurgen Klinsmann. I won't throw anything. David Wagner, Laurent Blanc. I mean, we can keep going. There's more. Those are guys who are out there that are available. And, I mean, just off the top of my head, as players, if they walked in the door and should get respect from an MLS locker room, Heinze, Milito, yes, Klinsmann, Laurent Blanc should walk in the door and get respect as what they did on the field. As managers, I think Dome Tarrant should get that respect straight away.
Yep.
I think Quique Setien could get that respect straight away. I think Quique Sanchez-Flores could. And look, they didn't have as much success in Europe at certain places. They didn't. But you are coming to MLS, and MLS players should look at that and say, okay, wait a minute, he's managed this guy and this guy and this guy. All right. There's people out there. You know, that's not even getting into guys that I think are unattainable. You know, like a Pochettino, like an Allegri.
Right.
That ain't happening. I do think one that would be fascinating if you could make sure he could smoke as much as he wanted to is Maurizio Sarri.
Yeah.
You know, for a guy who likes
Get
a project.
that man here.
He likes a project.
I'm telling you, if Arthur just tells the security staff, look, my friend here can smoke as much as he wants. Just ignore
Just make
everything.
sure the door is open and that there's proper ventilation.
Just
Give him
make
a
sure
give him a
it's
smokeless ashtray.
to
You
blow
almost have to
everybody.
put him in North Carolina with Charlotte, just with,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
true.
Yep. And you have to bring. I will volunteer to be the espresso man for Maurizio Sarri. I will be the guy who runs around with the Bialetti, the 9-cup Bialetti,
Oh,
to keep
nice.
that thing going.
There we go.
I volunteer. I'm willing to take this. I'm willing to take this this step forward at tremendous sacrifice to myself to be the espresso man to make this happen. So, Uncle Arthur, if you're listening, I volunteer my services.
Bringing the espresso to me today. It was very, very nice. I'm glad that you went to where you went to get the purchase. I'm very, very happy that you're here with me today. It's very, very nice of you.
He's the wild card who I could see taking a job like that, because it would be, man, I mean, from what he's done here in his last 2 stops and just got crapped on both places.
Yep.
Won trophies
Yep.
both places.
Yeah.
And just disrespected.
Right.
You know, if he came here, I would
sounds
hope he would
familiar.
get respect. Yeah, well,
Juve one.
yeah.
You say that.
Shocks
This
me
is
the most.
the last guy who won trophies here.
Yeah. Now Gustavo adds another factor, and we're gonna wrap this conversation here because I have a feeling it's gonna continue on
Right.
all week.
Yeah, I will.
We're
Yeah.
gonna
This is just Gustavo getting angry about it.
no. It's all good. We're gonna run through Champions League and Libertadores just to give you kind of the landscape of what games are coming up this week. But Gustavo says, yes, but these coaches, can they stimulate the arrival of good players? Now, that adds another element into who you're hiring. Can they bring talent with them, or can they attract talent? That's another factor that you're considering in all of this.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. There will be more names, I would imagine, that will come up. There could be more twists and turns. Stay tuned. Handu is already saying they'll keep the roof open in the bins for Maurizio Sarri.
Yes.
You
Absolutely.
have to.
I
Surgeon
very much
General's
appreciate
warning.
that.
This is
That's
like
very, very nice.
that's like sitting behind the dugout when Jim Leland was managing the fish.
Yes.
Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to it. Okay, let's
I will try
run
not to
through. We're not going to go into detail on these games.
Yep.
Because there's a lot.
There's a lot of them.
But we're going to give you kind of what to look for Tuesday, Wednesday, and yes, Thursday. There will be plenty of games to watch on Thursday if you need to either distract yourself from not having a family get-together or distract yourself from the family get-together that you're at. You can watch these on your phone a lot of times. All right, tomorrow you got 3 games in MLS. We're going to preview those in the morning on Soccer Down Here. But it starts at 6 o'clock. Toronto hosting Nashville, Philadelphia hosting New England at 8, Seattle hosting LAFC at 10:30. We'll get into details on that in the morning.
I mean, Nashville.
Nashville
I'm
over
on the
Toronto.
Mike Conti Nashville train.
Nashville.
Yeah, I'm on the Mike Conti Nashville train at this point.
I
You
think-
heard me.
I think y'all are both going to be sad.
Yep.
Sorry.
What else is new?
That's true. That's very true. This is nothing new, so it's just adding to it. Choose to be sad. That's fine.
Nashville.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not putting any more white chocolate Reese's on this. I haven't seen anything yet to go to those links again. Stupid Juventus bums. Andrea Pirlo, I believed in you. Bum. All right. Stupid buffoonery. All right, Champions League.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, the early games. No. What?
Sevilla and Chelsea are big favorites.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying what they are. Krasnodar hosting Sevilla, meh. Stade Rennes hosting Chelsea, meh. Not really excited about either one, but that's your early games.
Yes.
The 3 o'clocks in Group F, you got Borussia Dortmund and Club Brugge.
Brugge!
I always thought it was Bruges until we discussed this. I feel like my whole life's a lie.
Brugge!
What are you, a Roger?
I wish you could just shut your big yapper!
All right. Lazio is hosting Zenit, and they finally got Ciro Immobile back after 27 weeks and inconclusive tests but just as many negatives. I mean, it was ridiculous. He scored on his re-debut.
75 tests, and they were both the same.
Mike Hampton thinks he's missed too much time.
Pretty much. What are the odds in the Dortmund-Brugge game?
Dortmund's a minus 370. Brugge is almost a plus 1,000.
Good grief. It's so ridiculous. I don't even remember what you said because I was so distracted. Say it again, John.
Dortmund's a minus 370. Brugge, basically a plus 1,000.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points
for Jason, but we'll find it.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Group G in the Ukraine. Dynamo Kiev hosting Barcelona. No Lionel Messi. Who else didn't go on that trip? They said somebody else was not going.
Frankie de Jong.
Frankie de Jong is not going as well. He's protecting the players. Ronald Koeman says they're in really good position anyway, so they're not really too worried about this. What are the odds for Barcelona and Dynamo Kiev?
Minus 143. Dynamo Kiev's a plus 385. Your draw's a plus 310.
Give me Dynamo.
I'll go draw. They get the point and get out of Dodge. Get the group.
No, I'm not going to do
that. That Messi-sized gravity well will not be there in this game.
Antoine Griezmann scores a hat trick with his flowing locks. That he's not cutting his hair. He wanted to make that point very clear.
Yes.
I'm gonna take Dynamo Kiev, and I'm gonna also take the 12-year-old in Amsterdam who's gonna beat Antoine Griezmann in Fortnite prior to said game as well. That's right. That's my part. I'm gonna match those two together.
Winter Wind with a good point. No Gerard Piqué. That did not look good with his knee at all.
No. It was a very Joe Burrow-like knee.
Yeah,
that bothers me.
I don't think the injury's anywhere near that, luckily. I think we're talking weeks,
Joe Burrow
not
should have just had his knee removed at this point for his own sake.
Yeah, basically. 3 months out minimum is what they're saying on Piqué.
Yeah, but he's got Shakira money, though. He needs to walk away and get his coaching license and then come back and save that club.
That's also true. I like that idea. All right, Group H, Manchester United hosting Başakşehir. Manchester United tied with Leipzig at the top of the group on 6. PSG and Başakşehir on 3. What are the Manchester United odds?
Manchester United minus 385.
Yeah, that's about what I thought. What about the other game? PSG hosting RB Leipzig. That, at this point, is the game of the day. What are the numbers?
Leipzig a plus 425. Your draw's a plus 360. PSG a minus 170.
Ooh. Oh, I'm really intrigued by that Leipzig number.
Are we to the point where we're putting like Thanksgiving dishes?
Yes,
side dishes
it is Thanksgiving side dishes on these things.
Okay. Let's get over our trash ass candy takes.
It's true. Stupid garbage candy corn nonsense.
Exactly.
Nick, we're alone. We're going to start our own podcast.
We are.
You can talk about all the different flavors of candy corns. Leipzig has almost all their defenders hurt. Literally 4 are out. Thank you, Burned. I was thinking about putting something good on it, so I won't. Gah. I really wanted to, though. I'm not going to do it. And Thomas Tuchel is under some pressure. He is.
Shocker.
Why are you saying that? Like, do you think he stinks or something?
No, it's a Monday in Paris. It's
okay.
PSG.
Yeah. Okay, I'm like, man, you just went off on Thomas Tuchel. Like, why are you going off on that man?
It's a Monday night. It's early Tuesday morning in Paris. Thomas Tuchel, and he's getting the slings and arrows of anyone close.
Well, he needs his big names to actually score some goals. Neymar hasn't scored in his last 5 Champions League games. Mbappe hasn't scored in his last 7. Somebody better do something.
Mac and cheese on Leipzig.
I'm actually I'm not gonna throw mac and cheese because I really like mac and cheese. I'm gonna throw
that green bean casserole that's got the stuff, the
fried onions on top.
Yeah.
Sometimes those can be good. Sometimes green bean casserole can be good. Sometimes it can be really bad.
You know how
I've had good green bean casserole.
To get it right.
No, like I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about John. He probably had no salt in his green bean casserole.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Are you surprised?
Not really.
That's
not really.
Hey, John, can you give me the numbers on the Dortmund game again?
Dortmund is minus 370. Your draw's a plus 525. And Brugge plus 1,000.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we're here for. Nick, it is very nice that you were looking out for me and getting me the espresso and the cigarettes and telling me where to get them for the least amount of tax.
Carry on.
It's garbage.
Get a haircut, Gandhi.
There's going to be some just tiny, obscure Phillips 66 station where he's going to stop before games to get cigarettes.
Yes. Will be.
I'm sorry, find a place where we could buy Lucky Strikes.
What the heck?
Wow, this is a good translation from Burned. Nagelsmann about Leipzig said, "We are playing the very last groove of our LP."
Yeah,
talking about their defenders.
Yes,
that's an amazing.
I know. I really like Julian Nagelsmann with that.
Now, if he would only work on the jeans and sock ratio to go with his shoes.
Oh, he's German. He's a stylish German. Let the man ride.
I don't know if he's stylish. It's something though.
He
takes some risks.
Skinny jeans and loafers and a blazer that doesn't match.
Yes, he's at the vanguard of European fashion. Let that man ride.
I'm gonna let him ride. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Nope.
But he takes risks. I'll give him that.
Yes,
he takes risks. Got to take some risk every now and then.
I'm going to go with the bad LP. I'm going to go with Leipzig winning this. And which of the 17 worst Thanksgiving sides ever created am I going to put on it? There's some of these I actually like. Oh, I'm going to take that garbage ambrosia salad and put it on.
Yes.
No.
That stuff, I mean, I don't even know what's going on with that.
I like that.
No, some people love it. Not me.
No, I'm saying I like that choice. I hate that salad. I like that choice.
Some people like it. I'm not doing it.
No.
I'll put that on Leipzig. All right. Tomorrow evening in the Libertadores, you got Atletico Paranaense hosting River in the first leg. You've got Liga de Quito hosting Santos. You've got Racing hosting Flamengo. That's a really interesting one at 7:30 because Becasese in trouble at Racing. They might hire Heinze if it doesn't go well. So Atlanta United fans, either, I don't know which one you want to root for. It depends on how you feel. Flamengo is the club that fired Dome Tarrant. Remember, he got them into the quarterfinals of the Cup in Brazil. They just got bounced 5-1 in that. Good job, Rogerio Ceni. Maybe he's under trouble after like 2 games.
Yeah, really?
Who knows? So that game could be really wild. People might absolutely start kicking each other in the face. That's at 7:30 at Racing. You got Sudamericana as well. Vélez is in that. They host Deportivo Cali. Bahia hosting Union. Okay, let's move over to Wednesday. Wednesday in Champions League, Group A, you got Atletico Madrid hosting Lokomotiv Moscow, and Atleti's in second place in the group, but they're only 2 points ahead of Lokomotiv. This is a very interesting game at 3 o'clock.
Oh, sure. Atleti is minus 455, Lokomotiv a plus 1345, and your draw is a plus 550.
All right, what am I going to pull from the list? Man, I like that. They put this on here. I'm mad. I'm not putting it on this one. I'm going to save it. I'm mad about this stupid list. Angry. They do have green bean casserole on here.
Cool.
They have ham?
Green casserole's fine.
They have ham?
Well, is it what kind of ham are we talking here?
It just says ham.
See, I have to discount
ham,
this list.
Or are we talking the honey baked ham? Because they're two different things.
I like ham. Creamed spinach. Creamed spinach on Lokomotiv Moscow. Bernd is with me. Says Lokomotiv has been good. They're only 2 points back. I think Atleti has the letdown after the win over Barca. Lokomotiv Moscow, that is your crazy pick of the day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't do it?
No.
You thought about it, Nick.
I can't do it because I think like a win over Barca right now, while it's great because you beat Barca, is not exactly like we stopped an asteroid from hitting the Earth.
First time Diego Simeone's beat Barca.
Right, but it's depleted uranium has more potency than Barcelona does right now. So,
and a better half-life.
I'll take I'll take the draw option on the Atletico Lokomotiv, and I'm willing to put a. Did you guys do rice with your Thanksgiving dinner? We always. Okay. I'm doing rice with brown gravy on the.
Whoa! I'm going to have to introduce you to the boss's grandmother's recipe for brown rice.
Ooh,
we're talking about two different things.
I'm talking about rice with the brown gravy.
Rice and brown gravy and brown rice are two different things.
It's rice with consommé baked in, and it is margarine. I mean, it is fattening and thick and epic.
You have my attention, sir. You have my attention.
Sounds
That's
odd.
from the boss. So
you have my attention.
You make a roux.
Yes.
Here we go.
I'm a little confused by all of that. Okay.
All right. The rice with the brown gravy is my Thanksgiving side for the draw.
The draw for Lokomotiv.
Okay.
That's right.
I got Lokomotiv winning the thing. It's cream spinach. Bayern hosting Red Bull Salzburg. Red Bull Salzburg is on 1 point here. Bayern is on 9. They are a Lokomotiv. They're not from Moscow. They are dominating everything. Do they do it again?
Same margin that they gave Atleti minus 455 in the composite. Salzburg's a plus 1040 and your draw's a plus 650.
Bayern will find a way.
Yeah.
Bayern will find a way.
Bayern.
They'll find a way. Winter Wind has got a squash casserole on Dynamo Kiev.
Yes.
Add that to the list.
Yes.
Okay. Group B, Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Shakhtar. Inter hosting Real Madrid. That Inter-Real Madrid game will be fascinating. Let's start with the Mönchengladbach Shakhtar.
Borussia Mönchengladbach a minus 190 at home. Shakhtar plus 530. Your draw's a plus 355. Inter is a plus 116. Real Madrid a plus 222. And your draw's a plus 285.
Real Madrid's missing a lot.
Yeah.
Going to play Inter. I was trying to see what all they're missing. Benzema, Sergio Ramos, Militao, all gone. Benzema has been training on the side. Militao tested positive for COVID. Casemiro might be available. He's had a negative swab test. You might have to play him. Luka Jovic is out due to COVID. Valverde and Odriozola are injured.
So they put a one ad in the paper looking for people?
Basically, like every big team in Europe right now. And they go to Inter in that one. What are the numbers on Inter Madrid again?
Plus 116 for Inter. Real plus 222. Your draw plus 285.
Yeah, plus 200 on Madrid. Kind of thinking draw, though.
Yeah, I am too.
But, man, those teams are desperate because they're in third and fourth. It's Mönchengladbach leading the group, and it's Shakhtar second.
Yeah.
Winter's going to put some yeast rolls on Inter. Winter Wind with yeast rolls on Inter.
Okay.
If you were gambling on Inter, I would like to tell you that you're probably going to regret your bet for about the first 65, 70 minutes. After that, Inter will reward you. But just know for the first 65, 70 minutes, you're going to be like, oh my God, what have I done? You will retain your yeast rolls. Don't worry. But Inter's going through a little phase of self-discovery right now.
I can't do it on Real. I can't put anything on that. I can't do it. I'm trying to find a way in there. I can't do it.
Okay.
Group C, Olympiacos hosting Manchester City and Marseille hosting Porto. Give me the numbers. I don't really care about Porto and Marseille. Give me the numbers on Olympiacos hosting Manchester City. Marseille is terrible. Marseille hasn't even scored. They don't get any respect in the show.
Yeah. Olympiacos a plus 945, Manchester City a minus 325, your draws a plus 455.
Olympiacos is missing some players due to COVID issues picked up on international duty. They were so angry they wrote FIFA a letter about it.
Yes.
Ramos is injured, burned for Real. Was the hamstring from national team duty. I know we can't keep up with all of the injuries. It's absurd. I don't think Olympiacos can do this.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope, not touching it.
I think City wins it.
Yep.
Okay. Group D, Ajax hosting Midtjylland and Liverpool hosting Atalanta. Liverpool's leading the group with 9, but Ajax and Atalanta are both on 4. Ajax has a slightly better goal differential.
Ajax a minus 333, Midtjylland a plus 825, your draws a plus 500, Liverpool a minus 145, Atalanta a plus 365, your draws a plus 340.
Nah, I
not touching either one.
Atalanta, but I don't trust them anymore.
Nope.
No.
The magic is gone.
Yep, they bonked.
No, this is if you want to see COVID in action, the falling out of COVID, and you're looking at it, the lack of a break. Without a break, this team's getting washed, absolutely washed without the break. No time to recharge, no time to prepare themselves accordingly. Washed.
I am going to take the cranberry with the ridges out of the can.
The best thing ever?
Okay.
Wow, that's bold.
All right.
And I am going to put it on a Liverpool-Atalanta draw combined with an Ajax win.
He's parlaying the canned cranberry.
Yep.
With the what?
The canned cranberry sauce on a Liverpool-Atalanta draw and an Ajax win.
I don't trust.
Nope.
Atalanta.
I don't either.
I would just rather put it on an Ajax win. I'll take an Ajax win, and I will put it on my favorite dish from Thanksgiving that I had growing up, which is a sweet potato souffle with pecan praline topping.
Nope. You can have it.
Well, thanks, John.
Wow.
Jeez. Good grief.
Food takes down here is just such a mess.
Wow. He just backed the truck up on you, Jared. You just backed the truck up and just opened it.
What did sweet potatoes do to John? Jeez.
I've never been buried into that much salt before.
Wow.
That's true.
Well, that's like the old thought that you should just go ahead and install a glass bottom on your big ass truck, because then when you run somebody over, you can see if you knew them.
What?
John has spent too much time in South Georgia.
Oh, good grief.
Man, give me Diego. Give me Diego.
Goodness, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
That's more of a Popeye show.
I'm on 3.5 hours of sleep. My brain cannot handle this level.
Jason has just sat there silently, disapprovingly for a good minute and a half now.
Yeah.
Well, we could always go back to tomorrow in the group stage if you want.
No.
No, the whole thing is Jason's sitting here, like, probably thinking to himself, all I ever wanted was to have a consistent show that's going to produce a multitude of content for people of all spectrums, local, national, international, answer questions, make it interactive, and here we are.
In extra time, talking about food.
Jason's like, I swear to God,
that make
I found
you angry?
the 3 biggest knuckleheads on earth to do a soccer show with.
To do a network with.
Here's the worst part. Jason hired me once.
There was no money involved.
It's true, but there was, like, time.
Oh, my God.
I tell you guys about this network I'm working on here.
If I could have shown Jason the future, I don't know if he would have really gotten to Fellini's to sit down and eat pizza that day.
I am having a very bad day.
Oh, no, you're not, Stephen A. You're having a blast, admit it.
I'm in no mood.
Yeah, you is.
I'm just so confused myself. It's okay.
I don't know anymore.
Nick, thank you very much for getting the espresso. It's very nice.
All right, what other lines were there?
Very nice of you.
I have no idea. The Libertadores Wednesday.
Pretend that didn't happen.
As Jason tries to rock the car back up onto its stilts.
Delfín hosting Palmeiras, Independiente del Valle hosting Nacional. I'll be watching that one. That's a good one. The 2 games I'll be watching are the 7:30s, though. Inter out of Brazil hosting Boca, and Libertad hosting Jorge Wilstermann. Tito Villalba is back with Libertad. He scored on his first game in a month for Libertad. He had been injured for a good while. Internacional, new manager with Caldet now in Spain. Boca has to go to Brazil. Both of those are pretty interesting. Jorge Wilstermann's been the big surprise. I'm sure they're a big underdog going to Paraguay.
Basically, plus 495. Libertad's a minus 190.
I will. No, I don't. I can't trust Jorge Wilstermann enough. I want to, though. I really do. What about Independiente del Valle hosting Nacional?
Minus 170. Nacional's a plus 480.
No, I think Independiente del Valle gets that one. What about Inter and Boca?
Basically a draw. Same numbers across the board. Your draw is the largest number of the 3 at plus 210.
What do I get for Boca?
Plus 170.
Ooh.
Inter plus 170. Boca plus 170. Draw plus 210.
All right. I don't know what this dish did to anybody else because it's on all the worst lists, and I actually like it. Corn pudding.
Nope.
I like it.
Like corn souffle?
I mean, I think it depends on how you do it. Because I've had
if that's what it is, I'm good with it. I'm with you on this, Jason. It's good.
Nope. Not happening.
You don't eat anything, John. I mean, I don't even know what you eat.
John, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Big Mac.
Fries, John
salted fries, Mountain Dew.
John just photosynthesizes.
I guess. Do you have something against corn?
Not against corn, but corn souffle or corn pudding.
It can be bad. I agree. It can go south.
I've seen too many bad ones to.
I've had good ones. It's got to be right. So I'm putting good good corn pudding or souffle or whatever you want to call it around here.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I'm putting that on Boca to win in Brazil. I think Inter is a little bit of a mess with their coaching change.
Okay.
See, I'm getting some backing on here. J-Dub asks if it's cream corn. It's not cream corn.
Yeah, see, that's
different than that.
Yeah, that's different.
I like cream corn, too,
I'll
actually.
support you.
I like cream corn. Winter Wind says it's not bad. Pacine likes it, so, hey, cool. And hand you, it is Fanatis, where you can watch all your games on South America television.
Yes.
FNTZ.co/soccer down here. You can sign up for a free trial. You get BN, you get Teise out of Argentina. You get all the BN Connect stuff. You get Goal TV. You get RCN out of Colombia. So you're getting Colombian League. You can sign up for an additional package to get the Brazilian League. You get the Argentine League. You can sign up for an Italian language package with RAI TV and get games in Italian from Serie A.
Also you can get the Italian soap operas and cooking shows as well, and Italian Dancing with the Stars. Beat that. That's value.
You can get those out of Colombia as well on the Colombian television.
You can get it. You can get Italian Dancing with the Stars out of Colombia.
It's not what I said.
Ew, it sort of was.
If you want to twist it, that's fine. You kind of cut me off before I was done saying the sentence. But
Missing modifiers.
no, it's called cutting somebody off before they finish what they're saying. That's not missing a modifier. That's trying to finish a sentence. But good one.
That's what we're here for.
Sure. Then
we're having Nick go into convulsions.
Then on Thursday.
Nick's already on the edge.
Yes.
It's true. Then on Thursday, you've got Europa League all over the place, 12:55 and 3 o'clock kickoffs. I'm just going to pull a few random games out that look interesting. Dundalk hosting Rapid Vienna in Group B. Can Dundalk get a point in the Europa League? That'd be pretty cool if they
Probably
could.
Not.
Probably
Rapid
not.
Vienna minus 167, Dundalk a plus 407.
Ooh.
Nope.
I don't know.
I'm going to find something gross.
Okay, no.
Boiled Brussels sprouts on Dundalk. Because that's just nasty.
I mean, you know what? You can do some really
Who would
good
do
stuff
that
with
to
Brussels
somebody?
sprouts.
Brussels sprouts can be good. Yeah, no, I have no problem with them. But boiled?
Nope.
Like, why would you even
dinner,
think about that?
We had dinner the other night. It was we took Brussels sprouts and skillered them up with apples, some chicken, and some sweet potato.
You have fun.
I did.
You don't like Brussels sprouts either, John?
That'd be a nope.
Okay. No surprise
Well,
there.
it's a solid food.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Jarrett's favorite team, Rangers, hosting Benfica, and really what could be the game of the Europa League.
Hey, you know what? Somebody's got to carry the coefficient for Scotland.
That's true.
Wow.
Rangers and Benfica. What are the numbers on that one?
Rangers plus 115, Benfica plus 245. Your draws a plus 240.
Does Rangers get it done, Jarrett?
They can. I mean, they've been, man, look, I don't know that they've given up a goal in league play this year. And last year they kind of like went to hell in league play at times. But at the same time, they were really good in Europa League. They continued that this year. I'd be real looking hard at a draw here or a win for Rangers. I mean, it's not a sure thing, but they're tricky. They're fast.
I think Rangers can get it done. I think they can beat Benfica. And going back to Dundalk and Rapid Vienna, Burns says that Rapid has a ton of injuries. So if you're looking for that upset special, Dundalk might be your team. I think Rangers beats Benfica at home. I think they handle it. What could be maybe one of the other games of the Europa League, AZ hosting the Spanish leaders Real Sociedad.
Real Sociedad minus 115, AZ plus 295, your draw plus 285.
I was hoping that number would be bigger for Sociedad. I'm going to stay away from it. Napoli should beat Rijeka. It's in Naples. Yes. Lille hosting Milan.
Lille plus 140, Milan plus 205, draw plus 230.
Want to know what's happening with Zlatan? With Zlatan's leg? see how that's going to work if he misses the game.
Supposed
Antarevic
to. I think they're saying he's out like 10 days minimum.
Okay, so Antarevic will be up top. What's the draw option?
Plus 230.
Can I just take Milan because I've watched Celtic play both of these teams, and Celtic should have beaten Lille, so that's why I'm judging this. You should have lost to Celtic in France. I'm judging you accordingly.
I will say my man Frank Kessie got his tooth knocked out this past week and finished the game. That's toughness. I'm going to go draw option. I never gamble with my heart. My gut's telling me it's going to be the draw. So for anyone who comes at me trying to say that you're in it for Milan, no, the draw option. Never gamble. Never gamble with your heart.
Oh, I got to go back to Wednesday. I missed one. I really want to go Milan there. I think they should beat Lille, but with the injuries and such, maybe they can't handle it. Missed one from Wednesday. Independiente on the road at Phoenix. John, do you have numbers for that one? Sudamericana.
Sudamericana. Okay, hang on.
Wednesday night, 7:30 our time. Gustavo's not the most excited about it.
Independiente minus 120, Phoenix a plus 310, your draws a plus 235.
Well, judging from Gustavo's comment of I expect at least to get a goal, I might have to go with Phoenix at plus 300 something.
Draw.
I might have to do some studying on that one. All right, back to another team that somebody has an emotional connection to around here. Celtic in the Europa League. They are in the Czech Republic to play Sparta Prague.
Sparta Prague plus 130, Celtic plus 205, your draws are plus 250.
That 130 and run to the bank.
Wow.
With turkey.
Turkey? You went with the turkey on it?
Wow.
Like the good turkey.
Like dark meat?
Not the dried out.
Nick, are we best friends?
I think we.
I only mess with dark meat turkey, man.
All right.
Man, that's bold, Jarrett.
Man,
he's that despondent.
It's not just a matter of despondency. It's a matter of you have an embattled manager who says he's not going to quit. The board's going to support him. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's kind of It feels like it's kind of coming to a head for Celtic. You just got embarrassed by this same team at home the last time they played, when Prague was missing like 4 or 5 players for COVID and ran a bunch of teenagers out there and ran you off your own field.
Yeah, I gotta go with the 130. I'll go Sparta Prague. Give me the cranberry out of the can on Sparta Prague.
That's easy money for me. And
I'll put the mac and cheese on it. I can't go turkey on that. I'll go mac and cheese on it.
I mean, it's.
I'll Jarrett with the turkey.
It's just things are bad in the east end of Glasgow right now, and I have genuine questions about how long this goes to, because I think this all comes to a head when they go play a game at Ibrox and Celtic just catches a hammer shower.
When do they play again?
God, I don't even know. I haven't looked that far in the schedule.
Might be a while.
Yeah, it might be a while.
Oh, they do weird schedule format, so actually it might not be that long. I forgot. You play everybody 3 times.
Scotland just kind of plays it by ear.
Yeah, it's sure, we'll play again. Sure, play Rangers again. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. But in all honesty, man, right now I don't trust them. They can't seem to figure out life in general. They pulled a draw over the weekend. That a good old fashioned Hibbsing is the only reason they pulled a draw last week. And actually, Diego Laxalt might be the reason Neil Lennon still has a job, because he scored in the 90th minute to earn the draw. No, I love the dude, actually. He can't. I mean, he crosses like I do. In other words, poorly. But the dude plays with some fire, and I do enjoy watching him. He's a fun player. But this is a team that should have lost at Easter Road this weekend. They were down 2-0. And it took the last 20 minutes of a penalty and a frantic scramble to earn a draw, man. They're a hot mess. I don't trust them to go across the continent. The fact that bettors are giving you 130 just feels like a bone being thrown at you, or they know something we don't, and an asteroid's going to hit that locker room in Prague, and they're going to have to play like the U15 team or something.
Your next match is Sunday, December 6th against St. Johnston in league.
Man. I have heartburn right now.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about happy things. What else you got?
There's not a whole lot else in Europa League that's all that interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Tottenham is hosting Ludogorets.
Nope.
Okay.
Minus 1250.
Yeah, it's nothing. CSKA Moscow and Feyenoord. That shouldn't be much of anything.
Oh, is our boy going to be on the touchline for CSKA Sofia against Young Boys?
He could be. Alan Pardew is the new, I think he's sporting director, though. I don't think he was the manager.
Give him time.
He might just dance his way out of there at some point. I don't know. There's no telling with that guy.
But no, it's pretty bad.
Last game of interest on Thursday is at 7:30, so you got to make sure you wake back up from your turkey-induced nap to watch the first leg, round of 16, Sudamericana, Defensa y Justicia hosting Vasco da Gama.
Defensa minus 137, Vasco plus 367. Your draws a plus 240.
Vasco's not good this year at all. Defensa's struggling in the league right now, or the cup/league, whatever you want to call it. They need to win the home leg.
Just watch it and enjoy it.
They really need to win the home leg, and they have shown up in these games, more so in these than in the league. So I think they find a way. I think it's 2-1. I think Vasco's just not that good. Vasco's like 17th in Brazil. They might get relegated from the top flight.
Yep.
2-1. Defensa.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Good win.
2-1.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay. Well, I guess that's going to do it. You're going to get out of Conca Cinco today, John. Because
already, we'll do it in the morning.
Yeah, it's 3 hours in. We're not doing any more.
Nope.
We don't do 3 hour shows, so we're going to stop. That's what we're going to do.
Stop quick. Stop quick.
Yes.
Stop quick.
Send us out.
It is the last soccer over there before Turkey Day, so by all means, please celebrate responsibly. All calories spended. There's no calorie counting for the rest of the week. The rest of the week, starting like tonight through, I am the czar of calorie counting. Yes, and I'm also the czar of Christmas decorations, and the moratorium on Christmas decorations prior to Thanksgiving has also been lifted to lift the spirits of the children. So put up your tree now, should you so choose. Put up your lights now, should you so choose. We're doing it for the children, John. We're trying to lift spirits up. Don't put the elf on the shelf up yet. Don't put the elf on the shelf up yet. You don't want that in your life yet. Lights, trees, turkey. Go for it. Live your life. Until then, everyone, please be safe out there. We love you all. Wear your mask. Wear your mask. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, wear your mask. And until next time, we love you all so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Jason, John, Jarrett. Mucha Euro, y'all. Mucha turkey.
See you later, alligator.
Genuinely one of the